What is going on, gamblers, diehards, and degenerates? Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I am your host, as always, every time, rain or shine, power or not. Actually, the show would be hard to do without power, but I'm here every single damn Monday to talk to you about some MMA fights, the best sport on the planet. We always try to put a little cash in your pocket, and we did that. We did that last week. UFC 285 was awesome. And we're coming off a big 5-unit win, folks. I tallied it up. For anybody wondering. The official record as of today for 2023, plus 19.59 units. That's what's up. We're on a hot streak. Everybody riding the wave, fading me last year because I had such a shit year. We're turning it around, baby. We're turning it around. Can't get cocky, but we're wearing the Die Hard stimulus check, the baby blues. We got the money cash chain going because we had a good night. We're feeling good. How's everybody doing in the chat? We got Mike Harvey, Mushroom in the house every single week. What is up, buddy? We got Randy Bell. We've got Jamie Curry. We've got Subhuman Gaucho. I have not read that name off before. Thank you very much for hanging out in the show. We've got Condi. I'm just going to call you Condi because of the I don't think I can roll the N like that on the pronunciation. How's everybody doing this evening? Thank you very much for tuning in here on Monday night. We're going to talk UFC Vegas 71. That's right. We are back in the Apex, and I'm pleasantly surprised that this is actually a pretty damn good card. You know, usually after those big pay-per-view cards, they give us kind of a stinker. This one's pretty damn good. Without further ado, I do need to introduce this week's special guest, making his glorious return to the podcast, none other than Keith from ShareDog.com. Keith, how you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing good, brother. First of all, can I say this? Dude, that intro, that is one of the dopest ones I've seen. Like, it's dope. Nice job, my man.
Thank you
for having me
back.
I thought it was gonna be one and done, you know. But I had such a great time last time I was here. The people in the chat were super nice. So hopefully we have another great night.
Absolutely, man. No, definitely not one and done. The people, I got tons of feedback last time when you came on the show. People absolutely loved your breakdowns. Obviously,
Cool.
They can find them over on ShareDog.com every single week, but they seem to like the combo, so we had to get it set up again.
Cool, thanks.
All right.
Well, I just reckon I'm a fan of you and I'm a fan of the show. I know you work really hard. I love people who grind, and obviously you have a very passionate listeners. So yeah, I love talking fights with anybody.
I love it, and I appreciate that. I'm also very proud of that intro. It gets me pumped up every single time I turn it on. The new theme song is like, that one took it to the next level for me. I love hitting play every single week. All right. So everybody, just so you know, if it's your first time watching the show, if you haven't seen Keith's stuff before, he's actually not a gambler. I know everyone's going to lose their minds because it's all gambling here on the show, but he's a damn good analyst and he's really good at picking fights. So it's information that we can still use, you know, to go ahead and pick winners and bets the way that we like to do. So a nice little change of pace, bring a bit of a different perspective. We're going to have some fun. It's going to be good times. And Keith, just so you know, one other thing I corrected since the last time you and I did a show together. We're not using Tapology anymore.
There you go, my man.
I won't insult you by using the competitor again.
It's all good. That's fantastic, though.
All right, man. First fight of the evening. We've got Carlston Harris taking on Abubakar Nurmagomedov. And I like my new tiles here, folks. I really do. I think they look slick. But the one thing I don't like is that the Nurmagomedovs don't fit on the damn screen. Like, everything else works, The Nurmagomedov last name runs off the sides, and it drives me absolutely bonkers. I do need to, I guess, pump the brakes real quick because they have thrown us a curveball. I'm not seeing this fight at this point of the night here on Tapology, actually. The bout order has been messed with. Did this fight get canceled, Keith?
Dude, I've been writing an article about a fighter that's fighting on this card. That's the only thing I've been focusing on right now because I have an article coming out hopefully tomorrow, maybe the next day. So I didn't know he was out.
Let me look real quick because they pulled it. The card has been kind of getting juggled around.
Yeah, everybody in the chat is saying the fight is off. So yeah, we'll say that we picked Harris. Let's just say that we picked Harris, and that's a win for us.
We'll say that we picked Harris. He was the favorite going in. We'll keep the first breakdown of the night nice and short. That's a bummer. Disappointing. Okay. Oh, well, it is what it is. We'll move on. The real first fight of the night is going to be Tyson Nam. He's taking on Bruno Silva. Tyson Nam, a guy who's got a bit of a special place in my heart here, the plus 140 underdog, Bruno Silva, the minus 160 favorites. Tyson Nam is like 135 Francis Ngannou, Keith. He's big. He hits hard. He walks forward, kind of stomps his way into range. He can get out finessed by just about anybody, though. He's like super reliant on the knockdowns, on the big damage, on the power. He needs his knockouts, and he's old. This is an old man at 135 pounds, 39 years old. That weight cut cannot be getting any easier for him. Bruno Silva, the way I like to think of him is he is your discount Henry Cejudo. Like if you take everything Henry does and just downgrade it ever so slightly, that's how you get Bruno Silva. Has the same karate style striking, stays nice and long, decent offensive wrestling, not on Henry's level, obviously. I like him. I like fight ready, but it seems like he's kind of the measuring stick for getting into the UFC at this weight class at this point. You know, Dvorak got him. Ulanbekov got him. He was competitive, but not winning. And then he gets wins over JP Buys and Victor Rodriguez, neither of whom are overly impressive. Now he's getting Tyson Nam. This seems like matchmaking where Fight Ready and Henry are trying to call in a favor for their boy and get him a win. But I'm also not super impressed with anything that he does. And I think he's going to have a hard time scoring on Nam, who's got really solid takedown defense. Keith, I would love to hear your thoughts on this fight because it's kind of gotten me scratching my head a little bit.
Yeah, so fair warning to all your listeners. Nobody in the history of the show talks more than me, so just want to throw that out there. I like to talk. I like to hear my own voice.
Buckle up, baby. I
love the comparison of Nam to Francis Ngannou because I'm assuming Tyson Nam is scared to fight John Jones too, so I think that's a fair comparison. Just a joke for you guys. Yeah. It's funny because if someone told me that 39-year-old Tyson Nam would be in the UFC, I would have laughed at you 5 years ago. But in just in general, that's not the weight class you want to be an old man in. But he's changed the way he's fought over years. And one thing is he's really slowed down his pace and he's fought a lot smarter. And he's like his output is lower, probably based on his age. But he's a boxer who's a good counter striker. He showed really great timing in his last fight where he just starched O'Day Osborne. He's a bit of like a hold your ground type fighter where he wants to beat you at the point of attack. You mentioned he's got some serious power, especially for the weight class that's not really known for knocking guys out. He's got 13 knockouts in his career. He loves his winging overhand right. He can look for it a little bit too much, kind of like a Dan Henderson fall in love with a new tool. I like that he works the body. I think that's actually probably something he needs to do more. He doesn't check leg kicks. He's not much of an offensive wrestler. When he does look for a takedown, it's more like a body lock or something like that. But if he gets on top, he's more of a control you, ground and pound, control you kind of guy. He beat up Jamie Rivera with some ground and pound. But in 33 fights, he has one submission. So that's not something to have a lot of confidence in. Now, Silva, I think I'm a little higher on Silva than you are, even though you did call him.
That's not hard to do.
Yeah, even though you compared him to Henry Cejudo, so maybe I'm not as high on him. He moves well. He's got pretty quick hands, some tight boxing. He attacks with combos. I'd say plus power. I definitely give the edge to Nam in the power, but he's got back-to-back KO wins himself. Good calf kicks. He's been hurt a lot, so that's a little thing I'm worried about. His durability. I mean, David Dvorak hurt him, especially to the body. Something that Nam is good at doing. He will wrestle. He's got some good entries. but he has been out wrestled by really good wrestlers like Ulbekov, Dvorak. He has a BJJ black belt, some slick back takes. And another concern is he's slowed down, though I don't know if that'll be the case against a guy like Nam because Nam doesn't press a big pace. I think this is tough. Nam's look good. But I'm going to go. Actually, we're going to disagree right off the bat. I'm going to go with Silva. I think he has the better output. He's probably the more well-rounded guy. I think we have some really fun exchanges, but I'm going to say Silva gets some takedowns on Nam, and that's going to be the edge in a really close fight.
Okay. I don't mind it whatsoever. This isn't one that, I'm talking betting, not just making a pick. I don't know that my money's going to get anywhere near this fight. I think it could be close, but I also can't get like the Khalid Taha ass beating out of my head that I'm like the guy that wasn't really UFC level, popped for steroids immediately after, hasn't been great since, was able to clip this guy and put him down. Nam could do that too. So it's a fight that I think is going to play very, very closely. It's going to be a little cat and mouse. If Bruno minds his P's and Q's, probably gets out of there with a decision, but you're going to be holding your breath the whole time.
So one thing I do on the show, I don't even look at the betting lines on purpose because I never want to be like, if I'm on the fence on a fight, I don't want to like be pulled one way or the other. If I go, oh wow, this guy's a negative 180 favorite, I probably should lean that way. So I was actually surprised when I actually already filmed my show, but when Silva came as the favorite, I thought I was coming up with an upset pick right out the gate. So to be a sharp better, like I'd either bet Nam or just not bet. I probably wouldn't bet at all.
That's where I'm at, man. I learned last year. I had such an awful year with my bets last year. The primary reason for that was I kept betting these old dogs that I thought maybe had one last shot left in them. I kind of got to side with the age here, right? Like I think Tyson Nam is live for a knockout, but is it going to shock me if Silva can mix in the grappling and outpace him and leg kick him for 15 minutes and get a split? That's not going to surprise me one bit.
Yeah, and I want to say this here, listeners. If we disagree on a bet, like go with you, man, because you're a better. I'm not a better, so I just make my picks. I'm a coward. You're fantastic. Would you say you had like 150 plus units or something last week? You just killed it. So, go with you. Go with the guys who bet. Guys like Sean Sheehan on Sherdog or Jay Petrie on Sherdog, and there's a whole bunch of other great guys. So listen to those guys. I just love talking fights.
Absolutely. But you know what? Like I mentioned at the top of the show, though, Keith, the analysis is like on point. Like what you do is super important. Bettors can listen to the things that you're bringing up that maybe the gamblers happen to miss, and it can help them out making better bets. So it's a perfect mix up here. I do want to shout out Vincent Ramirez here. Thank you very much for the $4.99 dono in the chat. Super happy to hear that I was helping you get to some winners. Now I'm curious though. Throw in the chat which ones, which ones got you to the dub there. Shout out to everybody else. We got 71 live viewers at this point. People are flowing in, so smash the like button for me. We got Bet with Jay. We got Jordan leaving. Uncle Weezy is in the house. Rot Tark. We got the Brick Squad. Everybody's starting to get in here. It's going to be a good show tonight, folks. We're going to have a good time with this one. Next up, Tony Gravely taking on Victor Henry. And man, you guys know me. I have had an up and down tumultuous relationship with Tony Gravely. Like I've bet on this guy. I've bet against this guy. I actually feel like I've got a pretty damn good read on what Tony Gravely does. The one time that it really kind of went hard left turn against me was when I thought he was going to get out grappled by Johnny Munoz Jr. And he just nuked him. First shot of the fight, put him down dead to rights. I got lucky with the Nate Maness call on him. I bet on him for Simon Oliveira. I bet Javid Basharat. Like I've been zigging and zagging at the right time with Tony Gravely. I feel like he's got a well-rounded skill set. He's the younger of the two guys, American top team, good power. I feel like he's starting to patch up those gas tank issues just a little bit. His fight with Javid went really well. They went deep into the fight. He was competitive in that spot. Like that's one of those close but clear type fights. You know what I mean? Like it was definitely Javid, but Gravely was in that fight. Now, Victor Henry, I still really don't know what to make of this guy. I mean, it's almost like a Cody Garbrandt performance when he fought Hani Barcelos. I don't think he's ever looked that good. I don't know if he'll ever look that good again. And then he drops the ball as a minus 400 favorite against Raphael Assuncao. So I really don't know where to quite rate Victor Henry, but I like his cardio. I like his pace. I like how he stays long. But damn, man, he is hittable. And he really relies on being tough enough to tank whatever comes back at him to like stay in a fight. I think I'm dog hunting here. Like, I think I kind of like Tony Gravely in this fight. Keith, how do you see these guys sizing up and fighting on Saturday?
Yeah, I like a lot what you're saying. Tony Gravely, he's a guy that he fought a lot in the regional scene that I'm from, and he was this lay and pray wrestler, Division I wrestler. But he's really turned into this power punching boxer where he explodes off his back foot and closes distance really quickly with big combinations that if you're not ready for it, it comes quick. He's a good wrestler. He's definitely like an explode through your hips guy. The one time when he gets sprawled out on, though, he can kind of stay underneath and play that game, which is not a healthy game. MMA, you eat hammer fists and stuff. But when he's on top, strong top game, he's really good at like securing the position before landing shots. That's why he has been accused of laying and praying, but pretty good ground and pound. He's been clipped a lot though. Nate Maness hurt him. Basharat, you said it was competitive, but like Basharat got the better of him pretty easily. So I'm a little worried about his durability. And you mentioned that he slowed down against Basharat. He didn't like completely gas out, but he has slowed down before. And I understand why. He wrestles a lot and he throws everything hard. So that's what happens when you fight that style. Your breakdown of Victor Henry to me is like spot on. Like I have no idea who this guy is. Like he goes against a very good fighter in Hani Basalas and looks tremendous. I don't want to say tremendous, but he looks very good. Where I'm like, whoa, I may put some notes on Victor Henry, and then he looks terrible against Raphael Assuncao. And this is not, 2010 Raphael Assuncao. This is 40 years old, Raphael Assuncao. So it's really tough to know the good that he does. He's elusive. He's got good footwork. He had really good volume against Hani Basalas. He's pretty technically sound. He sets up his attacks with feints. He switches stances in mid combination, so he's kind of cutting different angles when he's attacking, which I really like. The negative, he lacks power. Kicks are a big part of his game where he's throwing kicks everywhere, but he doesn't set them up, and that was something that Assuncao was countering every time he was throwing a kick. He does a lot of teep kicks. Strong takedown defense, good hip. He's got good hip control. He has 8 subs on his record. I've seen him get some sweeps off his back. He's got good cardio. So I think this is an insanely tough fight to pick because you don't know if good Henry shows up. I think he wins. If bad Henry shows, because he has the volume, he has the hard kicks, he's got the strong takedown defense. If that guy shows up, he wins. If bad one shows up, he's probably going to get knocked out. And if he's throwing naked leg kicks against Tony Gravely, he's either going to get knocked out or he's going to get taken down. So I'm with you. I'm going to go with Gravely. I'll when I'm on the fence and something, I'll go with a better wrestler. He hits harder too, so you can either light him on the feet too. So I think we have some good exchanges, but I think Gravely's smart enough to get some takedowns, and I'll say Gravely wins. I almost want to go late stoppage, but I'll go with Gravely with a decision.
You and I are kind of on the same page here on this one, Keith. I was watching back the Hani Barcelos fight, and the amount of left hooks that Hani landed on this guy's head, all night. It was there for him all night. And Tony, I think, is more of a power hitter than Barcelos.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Barcelos is the cleaner striker, but I think Tony's got more power. I know Victor has not been knocked out. I know he's never been finished, but he's 35 years old with a lot of wear and tear on those tires. I actually would be surprised if Gravely clips him and gets him out of there in this spot.
And he's 35, who has been out a lot of times, which means he's had a lot of injuries.
Yeah. So I know everyone's going to go to that durability thing. I think it's a live dog here in this spot. I'm waiting to see if the line moves. I'll take the plus 120. I haven't bet it yet. I'll take the plus 120, and I might be looking at that inside the distance prop. But if people are going to keep on sleeping on Gravely in this spot and go with Henry, I think we might get a slightly better number. So I'm going to play the game. I'm going to sit back. If it drops to plus 115 or plus 110, I'm jumping in right away. But if I can get plus 130 or plus 140, I'm going to try and be a little patient here and get a better number on Tony. That is the plan, folks. Shout out our guy in the chat, Victor Ramirez. Half a unit on 7 units, Razabov money line, Saman money line, Gary inside the distance, Duplessis and Burial and John Jones. Damn, son. Nice. Congratulations on the big casher for the weekend. I got to tell you guys, funny story. I tweeted this. I know not everybody, in the audio sphere and everybody on YouTube follows me on social media. You should. But if you don't, my brother-in-law, he is a mini degenerate. Keith, he likes to gamble on UFC fights anytime he's hanging out with me or whatever. It was his birthday on Saturday. So we're hanging out. It's his birthday. And he hits me up and he's like, Clint, I need to make a bet. I want to make a bet. I give him my whole card. And this weekend I had like 8 bets. I bet a lot this weekend. And he's like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna pick one. And I'm like, I'm trying to like sell him hard on like the over 2.5 in the co-main event. That's my favorite bet on the card. On like Tabitha Ricci, who I'm like, she's gonna maul this old woman.
Oh, yeah.
These are the easy spots for you to get in. I'm like, it's my brother-in-law. I need to give him a good bet. He's got to win. He picks the longest shot prop that I've got on the night, and is like, that's the one bet that I'm gonna make tonight. It was Shavkat round 3.
Nice. Good night.
Keith, I don't know what it is.
Get his luck.
This kid,
good for him.
But he does it every time. We hang out and he bets on MMA like every other month, like once every 3 months. And he'll just be like, Clint, what are you putting? And I'm like, okay, here's my card. He picks the one winner, and it's always something stupid. It's 3-1, it's 5-1, it's 8-1 And if he
sounds like you should have him on
it,
instead of me. It sounds like you should have him on instead of me, you know?
I don't know what it is. He's got that sick gambler's intuition, but I just had to shout out my guy. Happy birthday again, Connor. He hit the 8-1 on the round 3 Shavkat sprinkle, one and done sniper for the night for my boy. So I had to share that one with you guys. Next fight up, we're talking JJ Aldrich taking on Ariane Lipski. The Queen of Violence is back. And, you know, she's kept the name, Keith. She's done a good job. She has been the Queen of Violence. She doesn't say she's the one implementing the violence.
Right,
As long as violence is happening, she gets to keep the name. And poor Ariane Lipski, man. I had high hopes for her. And I keep thinking she's young enough to make big leaps and bounds, big improvements. She'll turn the corner. She'll get there. And she just kind of never does. Like, her Muay Thai is good. She's tall, she's lanky, she's long. If she stays at kicking range, she's okay. She just doesn't react well to getting hit. Thankfully, JJ is not the biggest power puncher in the world, so maybe she can kind of have more of a striking battle with JJ. Her BJJ game is slick, man. Lipski's grappling is awesome. I love what I see from her in transitions. That knee bar always stands out to me. But she has no wrestling to go with it. So, like, if she wants to be in a dominant position or get the fight to the ground, she can't do it because she's got no wrestling to speak of. JJ Aldrich coming off, you know, some of the best performances of her career training up at Altitude Elevation Fight Team. She beat my girl Jillian Robertson, showed off excellent takedown defense, excellent game plan, solid submission defense, and she was giving Blanchfield a run for her money in that last fight. The game planning on JJ, she's a very smart fighter the way she approaches these things. But man, are we paying a premium for her? I know, Keith, you're not looking at the betting odds, but she's a minus 260 favorite in this spot. If you were ever going to use the term like paying a premium for a fighter, this is it. Like, JJ Aldrich is never a 2-1 favorite. She is never somebody that you want to lay that kind of chalk on. And man, I don't know, maybe she's just turned that corner in her career and she's as legit as they come at this point. And I'm going to look stupid. And by the way, money has continued piling in on JJ. She's a 3-1 favorite now. I would kind of lean dog or pass from a betting perspective with Lipski because they're finally giving her somebody who's not going to knock her out with one big bomb the way Cachoeira did in the last fight. She's someone that she can play with on the feet a little bit and get into that kickboxing match. And then if they do hit the ground, I talked about JJ's sub D. It's on point, but we did just see her get caught in a transitional guillotine. That's the kind of thing Lipski's capable of. So I don't know, man. I really don't want to lay this kind of a price tag on JJ. I think JJ by decision is probably the most likely outcome, but I would not be shocked if Ariane Lipski actually makes this a fight. And I saw a picture of her with Amanda Nunes. So if she's getting some high-level training going, you never know. Maybe that corner turn is coming. I'm kind of tempted on the dog just a little bit here, Keith. What do you think of this fight?
So I don't know how you guys do this, but this is how I'll pull back the curtain for a second. This is how I do plan my week. I always write all the fights down and I kind of set an order of how I want to do my tape study. And then like sometimes you just run out of time. You have 14 fights on a card. It just happens. This was, I put dead last on my list of the fight I could do. It nothing against him. It was just one of those, it's usually one of the fights I'm most confident in. And that's why I didn't, I don't know how inappropriate can I be on the show? Is it okay if
as inappropriate as you want to be?
When I do with my shirt dog, I have to be like professional and everything. I think
we're complete degenerates. You can say whatever you want.
I think Ariane Lipski is the hottest girl in MMA. Like I think she's or like the prettiest girl. She's just like so pretty. But I think she may be better off being a ring card girl at this point because I think JJ Aldrich is going to maul her. Now, Lipski, she's a pressure striker that wins with volume. Mm-hmm. She's like your traditional kickboxer where kicks is such a part of her striking game, but she lacks power. I mean, she dropped Mandy Bomb before someone asked me, but like you put a lot of stock in dropping Mandy Bomb once in 15 minutes. She can't handle any pressure coming back at her. She can easily get bullied. I mean, her last fight against Priscilla Cachoeira, she just ran right through her. You talk about her wrestling defense. I think you said her wrestling, she had no wrestling defense. And I think you were being nice. She got out wrestled by Antonina Shevchenko.
Like, yes, that's a bad luck.
You know, she can get submissions. She has 3 in her career, but she's going to spend a lot of time on her back. Aldrich, she's a southpaw. I think she's got really solid technical boxing. She's a counter striker with good hand speed, good footwork. She's really good at circling away and kind of playing a cat and mouse game where she's pulling people into her punches and then she times where they're going to step. Her left hand is her straight left is her best punch. She can be a little bit of a headhunter, and she's definitely a point fighter. She isn't a big power puncher, so I think you hit that perfect. She can be slow to pull the trigger at times. I don't think that'll be the case against Lipski. Now, I think we always talk about a boxer. I think she's a very underrated offensive and defensive wrestler. And I think she showed her fight IQ against Courtney Casey, who also is a terrible wrestler. And she got takedowns against Courtney Casey, even though she might have won a striking battle with Courtney Casey, she's seen Courtney Casey fight before and go, oh, I could just easily, why take a chance? Why take a gamble? It reminded me of like the Kansas City Chiefs when you had that penalty in the end zone. Well, why take a chance? Let's just nail the ball and kick the field goal to win the Super Bowl. Kind of same thing. Just do the Courtney Cage, just take it down, you're going to win. And then she showed strong takedown defense against Vanessa Demopoulos. I'm with Aldrich on this side. I think she works at boxing, gets inside. I think she has some takedowns. I think the fight's going to look just like the Courtney Casey fight. And I actually think Aldrich might get a late stoppage. I see she gets ground and pound. Or she might even get her first career submission by like beating her up, and then Aldrich finally gives her something. But I'll say she wins with ground and pound.
Okay, all right. Keith, I love it. I love the call, and honestly, with the way the line is like steaming the other way, it's one of those ones where I think I'm wrong dog hunting. You know what I mean? Like all signs are pointing me towards maybe that's not the dog I want to pick for this week. So I'll go ahead and I'll tip my hat to you and back off on that one because I definitely don't feel super convicted about that.
Yeah, I'm not being very bold with going with a almost negative 300 favorite, 3-1 favorite. Let me ask you this, because you obviously know way more about betting than I do. Is there any sites that let you do props in the sense of not over under rounds, but like what the fighter does, like over under takedowns by said fighter?
So there are a couple of them, and Keith, it's actually hilarious that you asked me that. I was going to go ahead and save this for, later in the show. I do like a little plug halfway through the show where I shout out all like my affiliates and sponsorships and stuff like that. I've got a new one for you guys, and it's No House Advantage. It's a whole lot like Prize Picks, and Keith, that's exactly what they do. So if you go to a place like Prize Picks, or there's, these guys with No House Advantage, or there's Thrive that we did for a while, they do fantasy betting. It's not odds like you would get at a sports book or anything like that. And it's all stats. It's over under significant strikes. It's over under takedowns, things of that nature. No House Advantage is actually focusing on the MMA market. So people like us are especially going to enjoy it. Obviously, they've got all the other sports and stuff like that. I like their hockey options.
I don't know what the over under on takedowns for Aldrich, but like if you could jump in at like over 1.5 takedowns, I'd take that all day.
All right, folks, keep that one in mind. Later in the week, when the props start coming out on No House Advantage and Prize Picks, remember the takedowns here on Aldrich. That's a great call, Keith. And if you guys do want to sign up for No House Advantage, use promo code DieHard. They'll get you a $100 deposit match on your first deposit up to $100. And usually we've got a free square for you. I haven't gotten the call yet what that they always, Keith, like this last week, it was John Jones over one significant strike. So it's like, as long as he lands one punch that gets counted as significant, they give you that free square for like signing up people. So I'll pass that along on social media when we
imagine if you bet that Cyril Gane didn't hit.
Oh my God, I know. Like, how I was sweating it there for a minute, man. John went for that takedown immediately. I was like, oh shit, is the free square gonna
No,
miss?
imagine if the free square was gone with over one significant. Did he get significant strike? Did he get?
I don't
I
know
know he
that he
kicked him in the
did.
deck. Other than
I don't know
that,
that he did. You know, real quick, Keith, though, before we move on, I've got one quick question for you because you did have
okay,
a bit of a bold take there saying that Ariane Lipski is the hottest woman in MMA.
okay.
Lipski
Listen,
or Polyana Viana?
oh, that's a tough call. I'm gonna go with Lipsy, but listen, look at me, dude. Like I'm saying no to any of them. Like I have no,
That,
I have no shot. You know what I mean? I got
that's
no
fair.
shot for either one of them. But
That's fair.
uh, and and
Chat,
and, and
I
let's
need
be
to
honest,
know.
I changed my opinion. 3 times a show. So
Did you catch her crypto ad this past week?
no,
Oh my God.
they're
I
both
so
very
Keith,
attractive young ladies.
I made a live bet and I try to post my live bets so that people know, like, if anybody's tailing me. I'm trying to work on being better about Instagram. I'm 99% on Twitter. So I'm trying to get over to Instagram more these days. So I switch over to IG to post my bet. And dear God, Polyana Viana did a crypto ad and she was wearing like, they were like the pasties that are like an X, except it had like a chain hook on it. Like, oh my God. It was like, okay, that just like took me
Okay.
way out. Chat, I need to know. I need to know. Get in the chat. Let me know. Are we going Team Lipski or are we going Team Polyana? Everybody get in there and let me know what side you land on. Next fight up, Mario Bautista, the biggest favorite on the card, takes on Guido Cannetti. Mario Bautista is a minus 850 favorite at the time of making these slides, folks. Obviously, the show is brought to you by Superbook Sports. I think he's higher at other books. He's still sitting at minus 850 over on Superbook, though. And I get it. Like, Guido's 43 years old. The man has been a killer be killed round one fighter since he got to the UFC. He either dies or he kills somebody. And that's basically it. So he's going to come out guns blazing. I don't see why that would suddenly change at 43 years of age. And they're throwing him to Bautista, who has looked damn good lately, Keith. He's been so slick. I love what the MMA lab has done with this kid. His wrestling's on point. His back takes are slick. His submission game is all about it right now. The only problem I have is that every once in a while I have these PTSD flashbacks. I lost money betting on Trevin Jones a couple times because I thought he was the shit after he knocked out Mario Bautista. Like, that was the fight that made me believe Trevin Jones could be a UFC caliber striker.
Yeah.
So I worry just a little bit because Guido Cannetti is always going to be live in round one. Frankly, I think this fight is going to be one you could bet the under half round, not the under 1.5, but the under half, because I think Mario Bautista probably bonks this guy pretty early, but you never know. What do you think here, Keith?
What is the under like 1.5 rounds? What's the betting odds on that?
You know, the totals don't usually come out until a little bit later in the week. And the half round is like a special prop that you'll have to like find at books like DraftKings and stuff like that do that kind of goofy thing. So let me look. You go ahead and do your breakdown. I'll try to find the total.
Under like 1.5, I'd feel pretty good, depending, within reason. But
yeah, minus 150, minus 155.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, I take that. Again, I'm not a gambler, so I might be an idiot for betting that. But I mean, Mario Bautista, he's so well-rounded right now. And what I love about him, and I've been trying to really stress this more on my shows, he's fighting with a lot of confidence, and that good confidence where he's believing in himself, knowing how good he is. He has that like chip on his shoulder. He looks better and better each fight. He's a pressure fighter that just marches down his foeman. Like, look at the Benito Lopez fight where he just marched him down and teed off on him. He's technically sound where he uses feints and footwork, really good to keep his distance. Go back to the Brian Kelleher fight. He was freezing Kelleher with his feints.
Yes.
And then responding before Kelleher, knew what was happening, cuts angles on his tact, good footwork. He's showing increasing power each fight. He'll throw that flying knee for fun. He's got to catch someone with that flying knee soon. Strong calf kicks. He's good in the clinch, which was always kind of not really what he was known for. Now he's getting the clinch. He's beating guys up. He's showing improved wrestling, which he wasn't really known for. I mean, he took down Brian Kelleher once, then he grabbed him again and hit this tremendous foot sweep, like a judo foot sweep. Easily mounted Benito Lopez in their fight. Hit some slick back takes. Got back-to-back submission wins over Brian Kelleher and Benito Lopez. Go back to like Miles John's fight where he was showing strong takedown defense. And even when he was taken down in that fight, he popped right back up. Now, Guido Cannetti, like, say what you want of him. The guy's 43 years old at this weight class. Like, that is
Kick my ass.
Yeah, I mean, that is an incredible accomplishment. He's got back-to-back wins. But you got to look who he beat. I mean, he beat Chris Moitino and Randy Costin. Now, both those guys are from New England. I'm from New England. Of the major areas in America, New England has the worst MMA. Like, if we're talking about like Midwest, Florida, Texas, California, like the big. I'm not talking about freaking Montana or something. Like, I'm sure we got better than them, but of the major ones, we're terrible. And so, like, don't put too much stock in those, winning streak. He can fight at both stances. He's still pretty explosive, but his hand speed has slowed down a little bit. But he's been more successful because he's tightened things up. So he's not like launching things as much as he used to. He loves to get in the pocket and still throw a lot of power shots. His left hook is his best punch. He still wants to brawl. And he's always had good power. I mean, he lamped Chris Martino. He actually hurt Marlon Vera in their fight. Strong body kicks.
That's not easy to do.
Yeah, no. That I mean, he lost, but that just those moments aged well. Hard kicks to the body. Especially got good inside kick from the southpaw stance. He will mix in takedowns from the clinch in the distance, but I'm worried about his chin. I mean, he was hurt several times against Marlon Vera. He was knocked out by Denai Baccarel. He did go to the distance against Martinez, who's really known for his power. So that like makes me feel a little bit comfortable. He's still 43. So
don't remind me about Martinez.
Oh, yeah, no, he looks. Oh, you bet on it. I know. Oh, yeah, you're saying like take the point. Yeah,
I was like, please take the point.
at the end of the third round, take 2 points. Disqualify,
Man, I was hoping to get a DQ win there. Now, not from like the MMA fan base side of things, but from the gambling side of things. I was like, bro, take the DQ.
Take a DQ. Yeah, sure. So Cannetti, he's shown he's got some fight left in him, but he's faced really low level guy. This is I think this is a massive step up to Mario Bautista. And I think it's a step down for Bautista. I think this is a terrible stylistic matchup. I say Bautista smashes him everywhere. I see him batter him his legs. I see him maybe hit takedowns. I think he can find a submission. I think he might keep going this route of submission. I think he might catch a submission in the first round, or he might knock him out. That's why I'm saying I don't know what the line. If it stays negative 150, again, take that bet.
Yeah, I mean, even like Marlon Vera, who's a slow starter, got him out of there at the beginning of round 2. So it would have hit the under 1.5. And he doesn't get to round 2 very often. Henry Brios got him out of there in the first minute of round 2 also. He always gets finished towards the end of the first round. Like, yeah, man, I think the under 1.5 is kind of a smash spot here.
Plus, if he wins, it's throwing a big shot in catching him.
It's always round 1 if he wins. Yeah.
So, yeah, I like it all day.
All right, I like it. So we're both siding with the favorite here on this spot. Definitely leaning towards violence in that spot. That's going to be a fun fight for as long as it lasts. And we are moving the show right along because this is a big card. We got a lot of fun fights to get to. Next up, we got. I've been calling him Dumas, and I totally forgot to pronounce his name. Keith, do you know how to say this guy's name? Sedriques?
Yeah. I think you said it perfectly, actually.
Okay, all right. I messed up.
Sedriques. I think it's Sedriques.
I always practice. I didn't practice this time. Sedriques Dumas taking on Josh Fremd. And I made these tiles last night there, folks. So some of these line movements are subject to change. I will get the updated number here for you because I know Dumas has been on the move. And for some reason, I'm having a hard time finding it on Superbook Sports. Dumas is now a minus 170 favorite, plus 150 to come back on Joshua Fremd. And this was the first bet that I made on the card, Keith. I tweeted this thing out super early when I got my tape study going. I've got a big fat chunk of change on Dumas at minus 135. So I got in when the line was near pick'em. I like that number. The wider it gets, obviously, the harder it is to justify betting on a guy making his UFC debut. But frankly, this seems like a spot where he is just being gifted an opportunity in his UFC debut. I've never been the most impressed with Josh Fremd. Now, I did bet on him against Tresean Gore. Gore, using his athleticism, found his way out of that fight. Fremd looked pretty good, but he's hittable. He throws everything from down here. His hands are never up by his chin. His hands are always down here. So he's massively counterable. He's easily grappleable. He was taken down and mauled by Fluffy Hernandez. Now, while I don't know that Dumas is anywhere near the level of grappling of Fluffy Hernandez, this kid is athletic. He's big. He's tall. He's long. He's got a great frame for the division. He's very well muscled. He's got fast hands. He's going to have a speed advantage here in this spot over Fremd. And he's also got a filthy wrestling game on him with a very opportunistic submission game. He catches people from crazy angles. He's got a tight squeeze. I think Dumas is the goods, Keith. I really think this kid is one of these young fighters who has a chance to, if, brought along the right way in the UFC. He reminds me of guys like Jamal Hill or like Jalen Turner, where he's just got that frame. You know what I mean? He's got that physique. He's got the finishing upside. He's going to be a lot more athletic and explosive than a lot of his opponents. So I'm buying in on this kid. I've got Dumas to win his UFC debut and probably in stunning fashion. What do you think, Keith?
Yeah. Fremd is a guy, he's really big for the weight class. Like, he's a bulky kind of guy. But he doesn't fight that way. Like, he doesn't have power for a guy who looks like he should be a power puncher. Now he's more of a pressure volume guy, gritty kind of guy where he's just, he works behind a jab, throws straight shots. His left hook is probably his best punch, but again, it's not like he's not going to knock you out. I mean, obviously he could, but you know what I'm saying, generally speaking. But you mentioned defense is weak. He's been rocked a bunch of times. He doesn't check leg kicks, his big target. He will wrestle, but like he's not a Bo Nickel out there with his takedowns. Like he's and that was a reference for all the guys who's ever watched my show. They know the reference there with the Bo Nickel.
Can you believe he tried to open up with a head kick? I'm sorry.
Listen, you'll never hear me say anything bad about negative. My Lord and Savior, Bo Nickel. So
No, I know he's your guy, but like,
my guy,
man, you're making your UFC debut. You're the biggest favorite in UFC history. You're an all-time wrestler, and he comes out and goes, I'm gonna throw a fucking head kick.
He should have came out Masvidal with the flying knee or something. But
I mean, the knee, a
might be next.
Superman, like anything to just not end up on your ass. But like, he fumbled the first 2 seconds of the fight. It was great.
Yeah. So Fremd, I think his best avenue of victory is getting some takedowns or getting a submission late and kind of just winning with cardio. Like, now Dumas, I mean, you mentioned he's undefeated. He's a long and lengthy guy. He's young. He's only 27. So he's at that age where you're making improvements. You're kind of making your prime right now. He's a kickboxer who just springs at his opponents. He reminds me of Kevin Holland, the way he strikes, where he can close the distance with just one step. And it's just like, he makes the octagon so small, but how much distance he can cover. He's got serious power. He kicks everywhere. Hard body kicks, calf kicks. Defensively, he backs straight up, which if he gets pressured, it's something that later in the fight goes on. If he slows down, that's something that Fremd could have success. But you mentioned he's very physically strong. He has that like long man strength thing going. You mentioned submission threat. He hit a beautiful guillotine on the Contender Series. I'm not sold on his wrestling, but I think he's more like just a strength guy. Now, as far as prediction goes, I don't like Dumas, not as a fighter. I don't like him as a person, and I'll tell you why. I'm writing an article for Sherdog that's hopefully be up tomorrow, maybe the next day. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah.
One, I know you're very active on Twitter. You probably saw the asking $100 to do an interview with a media guy.
Yeah.
And then him and Abe Cow would double down on it. Like, instead of just saying sorry, we screwed up. Like, dude, you started fighting in the backyards. Like, don't forget where you came from. And then you're going to dog some guy saying, oh, he wasn't an established journalist. Like, everybody starts small. Ariel Helwani had to start small. Like, don't be that guy. But I mean, worse than that.
Let's be real too, though. Like, beginner journalists interview beginner fighters. Like, that's kind of how it works, right? Like, if it's his first fight in the UFC, don't expect Ariel to come calling unless you're Bo Nickel.
No, yeah, exactly. But worse than that is this guy's criminal record. I mean, it's beyond terrible, and I'm going to shed some light on it. He's a terrible human being. He makes Greg Hardy seem like the Dalai Lama. Like, he's a bad person. He shouldn't be in the UFC based on his criminal record. That said, he's really good, and he's probably going to knock out Fremd in the first round. So I'm with you on the bet.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's one of those things where sometimes it's a struggle where like I don't want to back somebody because they're a shitty human being. I have a huge issue with John Jones for exactly that reason. But when it comes to the betting stuff, I have to kind of take a deep breath and then like separate it. That I'm like, the sports book's putting a line up. I'm just trying to make some cash on a Saturday. You know what I mean? That I'm like, all right, like, is this guy a shitty person? Did we want to bet on Greg Hardy by knockout? No, but it cashed 3 times in a row. Like that, you know what I mean? Like that's where it's like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna make my cash. I don't have to like the guy to do it. And that's kind of the situation here. So I'm gonna be keeping an eye out for that article because I've seen snippets. I don't know the whole story. I'm
I talked
definitely
to
gonna
a
read your article when it
I,
drops.
I talked to I talked to an alleged victim today on the phone. I talked to the victim,
Oh wow.
and if he did what she claims he did, again, he wasn't arrested. He was questioned, but he wasn't arrested for it. If he did what he said, and I have his criminal record, so I got some more things I'm going to cover.
Oh,
He's a
boy.
terrible human. But shout out to Mikey Raw 420 who's picking Fremd. I hope you're right, man. He's picking Fremd by knockout. I hope you're right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those karma picks. You want Fremd by knockout if he's that kind of a person. Unfortunately, sometimes the biggest psychopaths in the world are really good at fighting. So I think there's a chance he's a half decent fighter, and we'll see where this thing goes. Shout out my guy in the chat, Boston Nick MMA, 3-time Pub Sports Radio UFC pick champion, folks. That was going to be my next thing to do here. Boston Nick got me. We were tied 2-2 for getting number 1 in the picks contest, and he went ahead and took the damn thing down. There was $100 up for grabs, everybody. Free entry here at Pub Sports Radio to do a pick'em contest. All you got to do is beat the Pub Sports Radio personalities at the end of the night, and there's cash prizes, so it's free to sign up. Come check it out. We got to talk about Spectation Sports. If you like regional scene MMA, promo code DieHard gets you 25% off of your subscription there. They show all kinds of regional shows. You know, Aries FC is on here, Attitude MMA, Showcase MMA. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up, so make sure you check them out and sign up with that. We did already talk about No House Advantage, but I do want to go ahead and mention it again. Promo code DieHard, $100 deposit code. Get you that bonus there if you want to play fantasy lines. And then, of course, the Sharp app. I've got links to the Discord and stuff like that on my social media. These guys have been absolutely awesome. They have been money for us, and I pass along some of their free picks every once in a while. Nothing for me to give to you tonight, unfortunately. It's a slow night at the office, but March Madness is coming up. So make sure you check out the Sharp app and jump in their Discord. That's it, folks. I try to hammer through those for you as quickly as I can. But if you love and support me, following those links and using my codes, it's probably the easiest way besides hitting the like button that you can support me. So do that while you're here too. Next fight up, we got Raphael Assuncao, a man we talked about a little earlier in the evening, taking on Davey Grant. And you guys know me. You know me. I love me some Davey Grant. He's one of these old, hard-nosed sons of bitches that just likes to get in there and swing. Keith, I love every single Davey Grant fight. This guy forces a barn burner and a highlight almost every time out. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he's like a stereotype tough Brit guy. You know what's funny? He's 37 years old, and he's not the oldest bantamweight in the card. He's not even the second oldest. Like,
yeah, UFC's offloading a couple contracts after Saturdays, what it's starting to look like. But man, I the winging power hooks of Davey Grant, I'll never get enough of. The Adrian Yanez fight where he's battered, broken, and bloody like in the Marlon Vera fight, and he just keeps swinging. He just bites down on his mouthpiece and swings for the fences. You gotta love it. Must see TV every single time. He's a slight favorite here over Raphael Assuncao. And we talked about Victor Henry. I have kind of the same idea of Raphael Assuncao right now. I'm not sure where he is, man. He's one of these ageless Brazilians at this point, right? He's 40 years old, but he looked damn good against Victor Henry. He's got that kind of, the thing that really kind of concerns me a little bit, Keith, is he's gone full Tyrone Woodley on us. Like he backs himself up to the fence and then loads up on the overhand right. And that's like the only offense that he brings to the table. The thing that gets me just a little sketched out is the submission defense of Davey Grant. That's been the one Achilles heel for him. You could hit him in the face with a 2x4 and it's not going to make a difference. But if you sink in a rear naked choke, he doesn't have much answer for it. His 4 finished losses have all been by sub. One of them to like Manny Bermudez, who's not a UFC caliber grappler. He's kind of a glass cannon offensive grappler. His jiu-jitsu is good, but nothing else. So like, maybe give him a pass, but like he got caught by Damian Stasiak in round 3 of their fight. He got rear naked choked by Chris Holdsworth. These are names you guys don't recognize or know because they're not in the UFC anymore. Assuncao is a legit grappler, man. So if Davey Grant keeps this thing on the feet, it's Grant all day, twice on Sunday, maybe even by knockout. But if Assuncao gets one of those big old blast double legs, he's got a very clear opportunity here. 10 wins by submission, high-level slick grappler, and just got back on track with Victor Henry after a 4-fight skid against some of the biggest names in the division. Talk to me about this one, Keith, because I was this close to betting on Davey Grant, and I kind of like pulled my thumb away at the last second and was like, shit, he could get submitted.
Yeah. I think the biggest surprise is that this fight isn't higher up in the card, just out of the respect of what Assuncao has done in his career, and Davey Grant, he's been on a nice little run himself. Assuncao, he had a stretch where he looked really bad, but he kind of looked renewed against Victor Henry. Now he's a counter striker that can fight out of both stances, but he has this, and I'm glad that you mentioned like Tyron Woodley. He has this like unbelievable ability, something like Andre Arlovski also does, where he can cause fighters to fight at the pace he wants to, which is a slow outside distance kickboxing fight. Now he stays tight. He was always a technically sound guy, but I agree with you. He's relying more on his power now. He throws combos, nice calf kicks. He will, and this has been his whole career. This is also 25-year-old Raphael Assuncao, like to get the clinch and grind, look for body lock takedowns. He also like catch a kick or something, or he could shoot through your hips. Even against a guy like Sandhagen, who's an elite guy in the division, he was able to take him down 4 times and show that he can, still a threat with the grappling. I agree. I think he's an elite grappler. As you said, I think it was 10 submission wins. He kind of reminds you of a smaller RDA. Like they look like each other, they built like each other, they grapple like each other.
That's a good comparison.
And where he doesn't have the slickest thing, it's just he takes him down and slowly creeps to the back or slowly does something. I'm just worried about his cardio. If someone could actually push the pace against him and doesn't get like hypnotized by whatever he's doing out there. And I'm worried about his durability. I mean, he got knocked out by Cody Garbrandt. Ricky Simone knocked him out back-to-back fights. Now those are higher. Well, maybe not Garbrandt, but like Ricky Simone's much higher up the list than David Grant. But the one thing about David Grant can do is he can crack. Grant, he's never been a great athlete, but he's a true blood and guts type guy. As you mentioned, he's insanely tough. He stalks his foe with volume, throws those hard looping punches. I got some shit because I briefly said that he throws punches like Fedor does, and then we're gonna clip that you're calling Davey Grant Fedor. How
dare you compare the two?
Yeah, I just meant the winging shots, not. So he knocked out Martin Day. He knocked out Jonathan Martinez. Those are, especially the Martinez one is a good win.
Aged well.
Good, yeah. That's a better way to say it. Aged well. Good kicking game. He has that like Holly Holmes sidekick thing that he likes to do. He attacks the calves with kicks. He was beating up Louis Smoker with calf kicks. He will sneak in a takedown to win a round or something if it's close, but that's definitely like not what he's going out looking for. I think he's a little bit better getting up. Yeah, on the bottom, though, against Assuncao, that'd be impressive. He's got 8 submissions on his record, so he could catch a submission again. I'd be really surprised if he catches a submission on Assuncao.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Defense is never his thing, and he's been hurt. Guys like Day, Martinez, Giannis all hurt him, but he has incredible heart. He just keep coming, and he has the cardio to go hard the entire 15 minutes. I feel much better about Assuncao like now than I did it going into his last fight. But I still have problems with his cardio and his durability. And Grant is that one guy that could challenge both. If he throws a lot and he throws hard like he does, I think he catches Assuncao, and I think he's going to have the best win of his career. I say he knocks out Assuncao in the second round. Okay.
All right. I like hearing that. Maybe I'll sack up and pull the trigger and go to war with my boy here, because that was definitely my first inkling was I think Davey Grant, and I think by knockout. And actually, the one thing about Davey Grant is he carries his power late, man. He is, last week, the Shavkat Rakhmonov round 3, it kind of spelled itself out, right? Like Shavkat always finishes people in the second or the third round. And the only 2 times Jeff Neal has been finished has been in the third round. It was easy money, round 3. It just makes perfect sense. I'm kind of getting the same vibes here. I mean, he got Martin Day out of there in the third round. He got Martinez out in the second round. He got Smolka out of there in the third round after nearly killing him in the first, surviving the second, and then going back to work in the third. Like, it just seems to be his process is to get that late knockout. So I kind of feel like we're going to get that almost what Cody Garbrandt did, right? Like, you play it a little safe in the first round, ramp up the intensity, round 2, round 3 come around. He's really going to start sitting down on those hooks.
He's a builder. What I call a builder is someone who gets stronger he throws more punches each minute that goes on.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. He is a builder. And I'm thinking round 2, round 3 sprinkle here from my guy, Davey Grant. And yeah, we can totally count out the submission. It's going to be a knockout or a decision for Grant. It just comes down to survive that ground transition early, man. If he can do that, I think he can beat up a withered and broken old Raphael Assuncao. All right. Moving right along, everybody. We've got Lukasz Brzeski taking on Carl Williams. And I don't know what to make either of these guys, Keith. I really don't. I'm very confused about this fight.
Okay.
So Williams, I will admit I'm not overly familiar with. A little bit of money has come in on him. He's minus 190 now as the favorite. And Lukasz Brzeski, you know what? The funniest thing happened for me with Lukasz Brzeski, because when he made his UFC debut, I was just not sold on the guy. You know, he's an absolute like roid head outside the UFC, gets his Dana White Contender Series win overturned to a no contest because he pops after that, making his UFC debut looking all soft against Martin Buday after being like one of the most shredded and jacked guys you'll ever see.
Yeah,
he looks like me making his debut. And I'm like, Buday all day here. We're going Martin Buday. Keith, I'm at like a family house party that night, and I just randomly like check down at my phone. I'm not watching the fight. The fight cannot be on for this particular party. One of the very few instances since I started the podcast that I'm not watching the fights even on my phone live. My wife was, I had to be on my best behavior for this one. So I'm not watching, but I checked the live odds on it, and I'm like, Martin Buday is a 3-1 dog. No. So I just randomly like threw like $80 on Martin Buday as a 3-1 dog. Didn't have any idea what was happening on the fight. There's not a single media scorecard, folks, for Martin Buday. He somehow won that split. The only person who thought he won that fight was Sal D'Amato. The entire rest of the planet thought Lukasz Brzeski won that fight. And upon rewatch, I'm like, holy shit. Like, that was one of the most awful degenerate dart throws I've ever made and somehow came out alive from. Brzeski is just a guy that he's okay. He's all right everywhere. And like, even his fight against Dylan Potter on the Contender Series, he got the rear naked choke. Like, the guy was going to defend the choke and the ref thought he tapped. He didn't tap. He was defending. I just don't know what to make of this guy. I mean, he's also if you're not cheating, you're not trying type of guy. Fence grabs, fouls, low blows. Like, he'll do anything and everything to secure top position in a fight.
Kind of guy.
If you're looking for the point deduction prop, folks, this is the one right here, because this guy will do that for you. Talk to me, Keith. What are we doing here? I got to lean with the favorite, I think. But again, just minimal confidence on this one.
Yeah, I love how you talk about like cheating and everything. We like to call it the Tim Elliott thing, where if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I love how John Jones. I don't know if you caught the post press conference. He was giving shit to Ciryl Gane for kicking him in the nuts, and he was like, "Oh, a fall like that happens. I want it to be acknowledged." Like, really, John Jones of all people, just eye poke Jones over here.
I was gonna say. So, did you see when the reporter asked him, they were like, "John, like, what do you expect on this Saturday?" And he said, "More of the same." I replied with the Fabricio Verdum, Travis Brown eye poke image, and I was like, the same, because it was like, the one I'm talking about, where Travis Brown gets like knuckle deep in Fabricio Verdum's eye. Like,
that's
John
Travis
Jones
Brown
is expecting more of the same. Like, this is the game plan going in.
Yeah, go for it. Brzeski, he's a high volume guy who has really good output for a heavyweight. Quick hands, busy jab, loves his overhand right. He does lack power for a heavyweight. Obviously, anybody who's 6'4" is going to have power. But I mean, for a heavyweight, standards, he's not one of your biggest puncher. Throws a lot of kicks, likes deep kicks. though he often throws him naked. He defensively, he has some issues. He keeps his chin really high in the air. It's a big target. He lacks head movement. He likes to get in the Muay Thai clinch, use his height in there. He will go for a takedown, sometimes catch a kick like that, but I wouldn't call him a wrestler. He advances position well on the ground, good ground and pound, and good cardio. Move over to Williams. Now, Williams is 33 years old, which you don't like making your UFC debut, but he got in the game a little bit late. I like some of the stuff I've seen this guy. Now, he's a former light heavyweight who's recently moved up to heavyweight, and he takes that athleticism with him. He's a good athlete for the division, fast hands, good jab, throws straight punches down the pipe, hits hard for a smaller guy, nice teep kicks, good calf kicks. He actually checks leg kicks, which are the few guys who does that, especially at heavyweight. And he's a good wrestler. His last fight on the Contender Series, he went against Jimmy Lawson. Jimmy Lawson was a Penn State University wrestler. And he out-wrestled him. He got body lock takedowns. He shot through his hips. He picked him up and slammed him, show how strong he was. Good ground and pound, good cardio. I think this is a sneaky good action fight because Brzeski has this like reckless abandon style. But I'm going Williams. And if you like Williams, I think when I taped my show about this time yesterday, I think he was like a -140 favorite. And the line, obviously, money's coming in on him. He's taking
money since then.
Now, we might have used a different betting line, but still, the one point is they usually all pretty close. So if you like him, like bet on him now because he might go -200, -210 by the time the fight actually happens. I think he hits harder of the two. I think he's the better wrestler. I think he lands a few takedowns, and I think he might even get a stoppage. But I'm going to say he wins a decision. I feel it's going to look a lot like the Contender Series matchup where he's slamming Brzeski, trolling on top. You know what? This is a gambling show, so fuck it. I'll throw a bet out there, even though I'm not going to bet it myself. But I'd bet on Williams straight up to win. Like I like those. I still like him at -180 or what was it, 180, 170. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah. Okay. And he's training out of American Top Team. You love to see that, especially guys that are working on their grappling game. And the last thing I think I want to mention on Brzeski is he gasses hard, Keith. Like even in the fight where he won by submission and in the Boudet fight, like his mouth is like hanging open.
I think he looks like he gasses, but his volume doesn't drop. He has that Sedriques Duplessis thing where his mouth is open like the whole time.
That unreal ability to just push through it.
You mentioned American Top Team. Their wrestling coach is Steve Mocco, who's one of the greatest American heavyweight wrestlers ever. And that's like if you're a heavyweight and you want to continue improving in wrestling, I mean, you get a body like Steve Mocco. That's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. I'm sold. I'm going to be looking at the Williams side of things. Obviously not sure how I'm going to play it at this point, but I think I'm going to roll with my guy Keith and make that move because when Keith says I'm not a gambler, but I'll take that bet, I'm like, okay, that says something to me right there. All right, folks, we're getting down to the good stuff here. About 5 or 6 fights left to go in the show. This is Keith from ShareDog.com. Make sure you check out all of his stuff over there. He does great work and does a podcast every single week breaking down the fights. We've got 172 live viewers. You guys are awesome for joining me here on Pub Sports Radio. The lines we use are powered by Superbook Sports. Do me a favor, toss a like my way if you guys could. It's the quickest, easiest way that you guys can support the show and keep the free content coming. Next up, we've got Victor Petrino taking on Anton Turkalj. And I struggled with that name so badly, Keith. It's Turkalj. I thought it was Turkalj or something like that until, thank God, John Anik got in there and taught me how to say this guy's name. Turkalj had the very, very misfortune of making his UFC debut against Jailton Almeida. You guys all know.
Yeah.
On
day's notice, and he had to go up a weight class.
Yep. Maybe the worst case scenario for your first UFC fight. And on top of that, Turkalj's kind of a grappler, isn't he? Like, can you imagine that being your go-to move is grappling? And they're like, sure, here's Jailton Almeida. Welcome to the UFC, kid. So now he pulls a monster of the exact opposite spectrum here. We've got his opponent, Victor Petrino, coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. And he's just a murderous power puncher. I mean, we're talking, he's got what, 5 round 1 knockouts, 2 round 2 knockouts. He's been to the judges card twice in his entire career, once amateur, once professional. So he can go 15 if he needs to. He just really never needs to. Like, even when he gets tired, he'll take a minute to reload, reset, and then he wings big power bombs. Now, on the Contender Series, he got caught and hurt badly against Bellato early on in that fight. Managed to remain calm, got his wits back about him, got chin checked, passed that test, came back and nuked the guy in the second round. So I think Petrino is going to be extremely dangerous in the UFC for a very long time. I'm not quite sure what to make of Turkalj at this point, though, because I think his grappling is actually semi-decent if he can get it going. And he chains really well. He actually has a lot of early finishes himself. But I think with this step up in competition, especially after losing the fight the way he did the last time out, I think he's going to look to impose that grappling, and it might be like a slow the pace down, pin him up against the fence, chain him, take him back to the mat. I actually think we might get an over here, and Turkalj might do the thing where he does everything it takes to get the decision win. It's just I'm not betting on that to happen because Petrino at any point in time could go off with one shot and take this guy out. I'm not betting this fight. I'm tempted to actually pick Turkalj, but that's like my lowest confidence pick you could ever possibly get. What do you think of this matchup, Keith?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, 2 UFC newcomers. I mean, I know Turkalj, this is his second fight in the UFC, but it almost feels like this should be his debut, being like everything you said about Jailton Almeida.
Let's just forget the first one happened.
Yeah, give him a pass on that one. Petrino, he's 25 years old. I love that. You know, he's at the age, like, that's the age where guys make huge jumps in improvement, and like he could be a completely different fighter by his next fight. Usually when you're between that like 22 to 26, 27 range, that's where it is. Very athletic, explosive, fast hands, nice snap on his shots, throws a lot of hard hooks, power in both hands. Even better when he works the body. I love that. I like in his last fight when his opponent was getting inside, he started turning in the pocket. He started throwing elbows, slicing elbows through some step-in knees. Powerful high kick, good head movement. Even though he did get clipped on the Contender Series, but he sprung right back up. He can wrestle. He shoots for takedowns. Good top control. Good ground and pound. He doesn't have a submission on his record, but he did show like good submission defense. Like his opponent Bellato is known for jiu-jitsu. At one point, he actually got his back and was backpocketing him, and he didn't panic at all. He found a way to kind of move him along and get on top. All right, Turkalj, he's kind of like the complete opposite. He's a minus athlete. Like he's a grimy guy. Like he stands tall. He throws arm punches, and I mean that in the sense of what they mean. Like he didn't step into his shot, so he lacks power. He's a brawler on the feet, and he throws combinations, and he throws a lot of leg kicks with a naked. Though he will attack the calves and stuff, but everything he's doing is to close the distance where he gets body locks and he's looking to trip you down. Not a strong wrestler in the sense of your traditional wrestling, more of a BJJ grappler. But he's got good cardio, so he's going to press that the whole time. The line you posted is Petrino's the favorite at -125, just on the pure athleticism. I like him. Yeah. Huge hair. Like I think he should be like negative like 250, 275. I'm all in on Petrino on this one. I think this one we're reading differently, man. I think he knocks Turkalj out quick. But every minute that goes by in this fight, I'm gonna be less and less confident. Because if Turkalj wins, it's gonna be one of these later grinding, slow him down, tire him out. But
it's gonna make it dirty.
Yeah, that first part of the fight, it's gonna be dangerous. And I don't that chin's high in the air. I think he knocks him out. So I'm not a betting guy, but I'm going to throw another bet out there. Give me those odds.
That's two.
We're throw a max bet in there. I don't know if I'm not a max.
We're sucking him in.
I'm just playing around. But
I hear you, man. No, and that's what I'm saying. I can't bet Turkalj for the life of me. I can't because of all the reasons that you just said. Even though I kind of lean that way, like he could just get clipped at any point in time. This monstrous Brazilian kid that I'm sure has all the best vitamins in the world is going to be getting better between every single fight. So like, yeah, I'm not touching it. That'll be a fun one to sit back, relax, see what plays out, take some notes. Maybe we can make a bet on one of these guys next time around. I don't think I'm going to be putting too much, if anything, on that one. All right. Next up, we've got Saeed Nurmagomedov taking on Jonathan Martinez, the dragon himself. And Keith, it was pure pain watching back the Kakramanov fight with Nurmagomedov tape
Yeah, we
studying
both
for
were
this
on
one.
that. Yeah, we were both on the underdog in that one.
Oh, and I went big too, Keith. I know you don't bet. I do. I was heavy on my guy, Saeed Yukub. I was like, he's going to do exactly what he's doing here. He's going to maul this man, never give him a second to breathe. Couldn't believe the ninja choke. Like when he locked that up, I was like, oh no. Just brutal. Absolutely brutal. We see with this Nurmagomedov, Saeed, he's a little bit more of the striker than he is the grappler, right? Like he likes to play at range, long kickboxing, keep his reach out there. Really, this is a kicker versus kicker type of fight, right? Like Saeed likes his spinning back fists and his leaping kicks and stuff like that. J-Mart likes that Factory X Muay Thai system, man. Hard chopping leg kicks. He likes to kind of flurry his way in with punches. If he gets close, he's got really fast hands. And he absolutely destroyed the legs of Cub Swanson. Like, this is a fun fight, man. This is a really entertaining fight from that perspective. I've never really been sold on Saeed Nurmagomedov. I feel like he's been one of these guys that's getting by on the family name. He's not quite as good as the others. I got to give him props, for surviving 2 rounds against Kakramanov the way he did and have the wherewithal to still take his opportunity and sync up a choke and get that come from behind win. Like, you got to just kind of tip your cap to something like that and be like, all right, like maybe I underestimated this guy a little bit. Jonathan Martinez, he's another guy that he's been on this incredible run. And for some reason, there's some little voice in the back of my head that tells me that he's just a little overrated. The loss, even though it was by split to Andre Ewell, Keith, I don't think much of Andre Ewell at all. He was one of my biggest fades in UFC history. Like every time that man fought, I was like, I'm betting against him. I don't care what the number is. I made piles going against Andre Ewell. And then losing a decision to Sukumtov. I know these were years ago. He's gotten better since then.
That's a terrible loss.
But it's so bad. Like even in hindsight, that's a really bad loss. His wins that he's been on this 4-fight win streak, Dvalishvili, Alejandro Perez, Vince Morales, and then an old Cub Swanson. Now, the Cub Swanson fight was like the apex of what he's capable of. Fantastic performance. But again, it's not the Cub Swanson that we're used to. I just don't like this line. And that's where the bidding stuff, it gets a little bit tough. I think I have to pick Saeed Nurmagomedov to win this fight. I think I do. But I think the leg kicks of Jonathan Martinez could be extremely effective against this tall, long, rangy striker. Chopping him down and slowing down that movement, I think, is something totally on the table. I think both these guys are live for the knockout. But I also think that Saeed is probably the more durable currently of the two. And because of that, I'm going to give him the slight edge. I think maybe he clips Jonathan Martinez maybe late in the fight with something. It's either late knockout or a decision for Saeed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree on the betting lines. Like I thought this line would be much closer. Like Nurmagomedov maybe like -150 or -160, something like that. Yeah, I understand that when the odds makers make the odds, it's not necessarily how they think a fight will play out. It has algorithms trying to get the most money bet on a fight. I understand that's a little factor into it, and obviously the name
and some of it is where the money comes in too. If they open like the John Jones thing, right? Like the money came in and just steamed it the other way. They had to move that line because they were just getting mauled by it.
Yeah. And I also understand like the name Nurmagomedov instantly makes you a favorite and, bigger than you probably should be. Yeah. This Nurmagomedov, I agree. He's well-rounded. He's a calculated striker on the feet, pretty technical, good point fighter from distance, will explode when there's an opening. Almost whips his punches at him, like brings so much force. I'd say decent power. He makes the mistake of pulling his punches a little bit. Like what I mean by that is like leaning back when he punches, which will take away some of his power. But his kicking game is really complete. Such dexterity in his hips. He will sneak a high kick in his combinations, which very few fighters does. The way he throws it, very like early Stephen Thompson, where he throws the punch right over that shoulder. question mark kick, stuff like that. He's a good wrestler, great at winning scrambles. He does need to improve his control though. Like he's not Habib on top. Like he does, that's not his game. But that's also because he's more of a submission artist. Where I shouldn't say like Habib obviously is a submission artist, but I mean he's not your wrestle and then control hold. He jumps for submissions. He's looking for it. He's exciting in that. He's got 5 submission wins, including the one you already talked about in his last fight.
Yep.
Martinez, southpaw, technical, great from the outside, just kind of pop shots with these fast hands, accurate. Chris jab. I love his body work, like his stepping knees that he's added recently. And you mentioned some of the best, like his kicks are Muay Thai style, but some of the best kicks in the game. Teep kicks, his calf kicks are brutal. He tosses a bunch of high kicks just to keep his opponents honest, and he does them with such ease. And also, it just scores points. Even any high kick that's thrown, unless you're doing the Bo Nickel high kick, but any high kick that's thrown that is blocked just still looks good. It looks like it scores points.
He's very clean.
He throws like low kicks in his combinations. He throws that flying knee. Not much of a grappler. Hardly ever looks for takedowns, but he did get a takedown on Cub Swanson, which is a little promising. But David Grant hurt him on the feet, so that is concerning. I think this fight is absolute fire. Might be the fight other than the main event that I'm looking most forward to. Martinez is a sniper on the feet right now. Kicks is such a part of his game, but the worry I have is I don't know if you want to throw kicks at Nurmagomedov. If you do, you got to go low. You got to go at the calves because if you go to the body, you go to high kicks, he might just bull rush it or catch it, get takedowns, get on top. And because of that, where such a big part of Martinez's game might be like limited more than we expect, that makes me feel good in picking Nurmagomedov. I think we have a war. I think we have some good exchanges, but the takedowns in Nurmagomedov gives to me a close victory. That's why it's like I'm not betting this fight, but I'm not betting if I bet. If I was, I take Nurmagomedov by decision.
I hear you. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I wouldn't be shocked at like a late round knockout or something like that because I do think Martinez is just ever so slightly a little bit chinny. I don't want to disrespect him by calling him like outright chinny, but I do think his durability is a little bit on the lesser side. I've seen him hurt a couple times, seen him wobbled a couple times. He's managed to pull through and survive. He's looked great recently, but it's there. I remember it. I do think the takedowns for Saeed is actually a half decent note. He probably wants to engage in the striking more often than not, but it seems like a relatively easy path to victory for him. I think he's slicker on the ground than Jonathan Martinez is. The one thing I do want to mention is J-Mart is a southpaw. So it's going to open up those body kicks. And that is something Martinez is very good at and has a very tall torso.
That's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah, I think
he'll go both ways too, though. It
does work both ways. Exactly. That's you got to remember if you're going kicker versus kicker, like just because it's an advantage for you, your opponent has the same opportunity. But J-Mart's got a much more compact torso. And I know this is like, it really doesn't matter in the end, but like Saeed has a much larger target. His abs and his chest, he's much lankier. So I do think J-Mart can score and work the body and maybe drain the gas tank with those kicks and be effective. Wouldn't be shocked if Saeed catches one and takes him down to the ground in that kind of an exchange. So I'm picking Saeed, maybe a late finish, probably a decision, but that's the way I'd be looking and agreeing with you as well. Next up, we're talking about Ricardo Ramos taking on Austin Lingo. And I'm surprised this fight is this high up on the card. I mean, Ricardo Ramos is making some waves. Sure, that's fine. But Austin Lingo, I don't know, man. I think this one needs to be down just a scooch,
Agreed.
Just a little. Put Raphael Assuncao and Davey Grant in this spot. Flip those two. I'd be a little happy.
Especially for two guys who've been so inactive.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But man, Ricardo Ramos, it's funny. He reminds me so much of like a Charles Oliveira type. He has that long, lanky Muay Thai striking, the good, slick, flowing jiu-jitsu, the chin issues. Like he's got that exact same, stereotypical type to me. He's a Charles Oliveira subplot, in my opinion. His opponent, Austin Lingo, he's another one of these guys that's just not that athletic, Keith. He's a Fortis MMA guy, but he reminds me a lot of like an Alex Martinez. he's just a tough son of a bitch. Like, he just doesn't go away. He keeps walking forward. He tries to wing these hammering punches at you to hurt you. He's got to make the fight ugly to win it. That's the way Austin Lingo gets it done. Now, you look back at like the Luis Saldana fight. If Saldana wasn't a freaking idiot and didn't like goof off in that fight, he wins it easily. He had Austin Lingo hurt badly in the first round and then gassed out and played for 2 rounds and let him right back into the fight. I don't think Austin Lingo is truly UFC caliber, if I'm being completely honest with you, man. His losses to Youssef Zalal, he beat Jacob Kilburn, who's now all the way back on like the low-level regional scene these days. And he fought Luis Saldana, who, like I said, literally put the fight on a silver platter for him to come back and get it. This is a good spot for Ricardo Ramos to get on track, stay on track. I think he's probably a parlay piece this week. He's coming off a round 1 finish over Danny Chavez, that sick spinning elbow that he hit. I think it's a good fight for Ramos.
Yeah, Charles Oliveira, that's a good comparison. One thing that stands out to me with Ramos, and I kind of keep reminding myself this, and my partner Ben Duffy was mentioning this too, is he's 27 years old, which is so surprising because he's been in the UFC so long. He's still really young.
Yep.
I mean, like if he was making his UFC debut at this age, I think we'd feel even better about him right now. And it wouldn't be abnormal at 27 years old to be making his UFC debut. Great athlete, very athletic, Muay Thai striker that can be a little too patient for my liking, because when he lets his hands go and stuff, I agree with you. He's a good striker. It throws a little too much single strikes. I'd like him to throw more combos. Great kicking game, similar to what we said about Nurmagomedov, such dexterity in his hips where he can just toss up a high kick so easy. He loves that question mark kick. He loves spinning attacks. It's been a long time, but he had that incredible spinning knockout of Zahabi. He likes to work from distance. The key in beating him, what Turkalj did was press him on his back foot. But if he gets pressed and he initiates Muay Thai plum clinch, I like him that he wears opponents down there. I like that you talked about his grappling. He doesn't get enough credit for his wrestling. Body lock takedown, similar to how Charles Oliveira gets the fight to the ground. He showed off good takedown defense against Turkalj. Though I've said this many times, I actually think Turkalj's wrestling is a little overrated. Yeah. But he's a good grappler, strong top control, 7 career subs. He has those long legs that he makes it so easy to kind of get those legs in and ride the back. That it's just hard to shake him off. The one thing I don't like is he plays BJJ off his back. Instead of trying to scramble up, he's looking for his subs and sweeps instead of taking opportunities to try to explode back up. Lingo, you nailed it. I mean, he's a pressure striker that marches down his foes, throws a lot of hard shots. He got pretty good power because he sits on his punches. His counter right hand is his best punch. He's got a pretty good left hook, will work the body. He had a run on the regional scene where he was starching dudes. 13-second knockout, 25-second knockout, followed by a 25-second knockout. But we haven't seen that in the UFC because obviously it's a higher level competition, and that like lack of athleticism hurts him. He's a weak wrestler. Youssef Zalal had so much success wrestling him, and then he struggled to get back up. I'm also worried about Lingo's health. I mean, he hasn't fought in 2 years, and he was then booked multiple times and had to pull out because of injuries. I don't know how serious. I mean, obviously they're serious enough to pull out and not to fight in 2 years. So obviously I'm assuming he's healthy. He's going to need to brawl. I just think Ramos is better at really everywhere. I think he gets some takedowns. I think he could submit him. I'll say he does. I say Ramos. I'll say he chokes. Lingo's so tough he might not tap out. I say like Ramos just chokes him out unconscious.
There you go. The go to sleep tap. I like that. You know what? I'm right there with you. The one thing is Ramos's chin. You know, he's been kind of bum rushed in the first round by Saeed and by Lerone Murphy, my guy, and just got taken out of there. Now, those guys are both obviously much larger, much more athletic, much more explosive. And that's where I think he's not going to have to worry about that as much with Lingo, because Lingo's almost a builder, kind of like you mentioned, right? Like he's got to survive the ass beating in round 1 and then take over the deeper it goes. I don't know that he gets by the ass beating on this one.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're in agreement, and I like the sub call. Frankly, I like that a lot, especially if he does end up getting like wobbled or hurt or something like that. Probably takes it to the ground at that point where he's got a bit of a clearer path to victory. I like the sub call. We'll take a look at that sub prop later in the week.
Can I call out one of your listeners? Just for
Yeah,
fun?
go for it. Hey, they put it in the chat. They're putting themselves in the line of fire.
No, he's giving Gelton Almeida love, which I think everybody's giving Gelton. He's saying we're sleeping on him. I've never heard anybody say anything negative about Almeida in history. Like, everybody loves the guy. Now, if he wins the heavyweight championship, good for you, man. But yeah, dude, we all love him. So
that's it. And you know what? Nothing but love. But that I can't agree with you more though. I don't think I've said before that I am unsure. I'm a prove it to me guy, especially when it comes to betting. I've got to see you do it before I give you credit for it. So there have been times where I'm like, I think Gelton may struggle in this spot. Like, let's see how he does. But I don't think anybody's sleeping on Gelton Almeida. He's a beast.
You know what surprised me most about him is how the hell did that guy ever make 205?
Oh my God, I know.
Because once he decided, like, I'm a heavyweight, he's huge now.
Have you seen the photo? Like, his light heavyweight weigh-in, he looks like almost like an Anthony Rumble, like where it's just absolute, like, shredded, chiseled muscle. I have no idea how he did that because you're right. At heavyweight, he is full. Like, that is a big man.
So I gotta call out another one of you, Subhuman Gaucho. I'm not saying he won't be the champion. I'm just saying, like, I'm saying the opposite. Like, nobody's sleeping on the guy. Like, we all like the guy. So
yeah, we're all convinced Gelton is very
everyone in the chat has been super nice to me all night. So I'm not gonna pick any fights with anybody. They've been super cool.
Yeah, Keith, I always say this, I've got the best chat in the game. Like, these are the coolest, most awesome. MMA Twitter can be one of the most toxic places on the planet.
Absolutely.
All the good ones have filtered into my chat. So, like, it's all fun and games here. Even if somebody says something, they're usually ribbing you like it's playful. Nobody's a dick in my chat.
Let's go.
All right. Speaking of my chat, we broke the 200 mark, folks, which for this kind of a fight night is a big freaking deal. Thank you all so much for being here with me and my guy Keith from ShareDog.com. This is Pub Sports Radio. The lines are brought to you by Superbook Sports. If you guys could hit the like button for me, I would appreciate it greatly. Let's talk about these last couple fights. The next one up, we've got Nikita Krylov taking on Ryan Superman Spann, and we broke this fight down not too long ago. It was a main event just a couple weeks back, and we had blue balls, man. They waited until the card had kicked off already before they told us. It was a brutal pull for them to have that not be our main event. That card fell apart completely. It was awful. So we don't have to spend, a whole ton of time on it because everybody's already talked about this one. But I think Ryan Spann is super live in this spot, man. I know everyone kind of laughed at me about the whole he's never trained thing that he came up with at, his post-fight speech or whatever. Yeah, I do think there's something to the fact that he's probably never been completely focused. He probably hasn't been all in. He probably hasn't taken it as seriously. And now he's finally doing that. And unless I'm mistaken, he talked about like cutting alcohol out of his life. Like he's talking about, plans with his teammates about who, what are they going to do when they get the belt? That's obviously wishful thinking, but they're actually taking it seriously at this point. And I think a serious Ryan Spann could be a problem. I like Fortis MMA. I like the coach Saif Saud over there. And I think Ryan Spann, being just the physical freak that he is, how big he is at this weight class, he's a problem. He's got that quick guillotine on him. He's got that clubbing power. It doesn't matter who he's fighting. He can kill somebody in the very first round of the fight. Nikita, I've been a little harsh on. He's decent everywhere. That's all I'll say. He's a decent wrestler. He's got a decent gas tank. He's a decent striker. He's chinny. He makes some poor fight IQ decisions. We've seen him losing scrambles to guys like Johnny Walker, for God's sake. Like, he makes mistakes. And I think those openings are going to lead Ryan Spann to a victory. I got Ryan Spann here. I bet him last time. It got canceled, obviously. I'm probably going to run it back. I think I'm going to take Ryan Spann, and I think I'm going to sprinkle that Ryan Spann subline. We'll see what the number drops at.
Yeah. Thanks to Dirty Reg 22. It's been really nice to me in the chat. Krylov. He's a really good athlete. He moves well on his feet, pretty elusive, quick hands. He hit Alexander Gustafsson with some mean shots, though he does have some technical flaws, like he drops his hands, leaving him open to be hit. He's got a good kicking game, mixes striking and takedowns together really well. Though I wouldn't say he's a great wrestler. Like, he's pretty solid offensively, though he's been taken down a lot. He has a submission threat. He's got 15 career subs. I mean, he almost got a submission win over Glover Teixeira, which I won't let that go because that is a hell of an accomplishment. But then he's also looked bad. I mean, he was hurt by Volkan Oestermeyer, even though he showed an ability to recover. But he's got terrible body language. Though his cardio is good, he's just like it still looks bad. So I don't like that. Now Spann's I don't know if you've ever met Spann. He's humongous. How he makes light heavyweight is like he looks like a heavyweight, but he looks like one of the bigger heavyweights.
He's huge,
long and lengthy guy, a little bit of a low output striker, but that's because he throws everything with power. Power in his hands. He whips that left hand. His shots are looping, which is concerning. But if he closes it up like he did in his last fight, he starts looking good. I mean, he dropped Dominic Reyes with a jab. Now that might say a little bit about Dominic Reyes than him, but still to have that power. He's also starting to get really good at beating guys at the point of contact where he's trying to meet them and trusting his own power. And one thing that does not get talked about enough is underrated ground game. He's got 11 career submissions. He loves that guillotine. He subbed Ian Kujalaba with it. He almost quit Sam Alvey with a standing triangle choke, though he was subbed by Anthony Smith, but that was a big step up in competition and stuff. So this is a really fun scrap. Krylov has the better output. He is the better wrestler, but I'm with you, man. I'm going with Spann. I think he's the one that more likely to land the one big punch and knock it out. He's also the one I think has the bigger submission threat. I say Krylov gets crazy like he does, makes a mistake. And I'm gonna say Spann actually gets that guillotine. So I'm gonna say he gets first round guillotine. So this was a betting show. I'm gonna throw 3 bets out for you. Like I don't know if you can do this, but I like Spann with the what was he plus? What was it? 140.
Money line right now should be about plus 145, I believe.
145. I like that. Give me Spann at plus 145. What's Spann inside the distance?
So they haven't dropped it yet, but I think it was 3-1 last time the fight was booked.
Okay, so give me Spann inside the distance, and then throw me a Spann by submission. Bet all 3 of them.
Yeah. That's honestly, man, that's what I did like last week with Tabitha Ricci. I took her inside the distance at 3-1, and then I'm so sore. I took the knockout prop at 9-1 on Tabitha Ricci, and the way she was going to town with those elbows, I thought I was going to cash that bad boy. That's kind of I like the idea here, right? Like you've got. Spann obviously probably wins inside the distance, so I'm not sure that the money line even matters in this fight. It is a 3-round fight now, so that does make a bit of a difference. And they're at a catch weight. They're at 215 instead of cutting all the way down to 205 because the previously mentioned, health issues and stuff like that.
I think that helps Spann even more. I think
it helps. The extra weight, the extra explosivity. I don't think that's a negative. I think it's a positive. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I like Spann. I think I'm probably going to take the money line, and I'm probably going to play the sub prop. Last time, I think it was plus 450. We'll see what they open it up at this time, but I think the club and sub is exceptionally live. And I do think that when these guys, now don't get me wrong. I said this last time, and I need to make sure I preface this again on this one. I think Ryan Spann's a little chinny. I do believe that he has a durability issue. Anthony Smith hurt him badly in the first round of their fight with a left hook. Anthony Smith doesn't hurt shit on the feet. Like Anthony Smith doesn't knock out anybody with his hands. So that's a bad look, in my opinion, for Ryan Spann. He could get clipped and hurt by Nikita Krylov very easily. But if Nikita comes out with the wrestling game plan, which we kind of expect him to, I do think he will eventually make that mistake and he'll get caught with a sub, or he'll give himself an opportunity to be clipped by Ryan Spann. We'll see how it goes. I'm glad you're with me, Keith. I'm going
to give another insurance bet.
Okay,
because if let's go. Let's see why I went Spann, just the underdog pick, Spann inside the distance, Spann by submission. Then just go throw a little insurance and take Krylov by decision.
Okay, I don't mind that.
I'd have to look at the math. I don't know how the math works. If that's worth it.
Yeah, I don't think this fight's going to full 15, regardless of who wins. Personally, Keith, I don't know.
I figured there'd be a good odds on Krylov by decision because he never wins by decision. But 3 rounds is a little different.
Let's see here. Fight goes to decision by itself. Looks like it's opening up at 3-1. So like not picking a winner, just the fight's going to go all 15 minutes is 3-1. Krylov by decision looks like it's 5-1.
All right. Bet that one.
It's not a bad number if you like it. Not a bad number if you like it. All right. There we go, folks.
And everything. Eventually, you got to hit on something in this fight,
right? You can't be wrong always if you just keep throwing shit out there. That's how it works.
I spent $1,000 to win 100. I'm still claiming victory.
That's some people do that. Some people do that. All right, co-main event here. We've got the battle of the Alexanders. Winner keeps the E at the end of the name. Alexander Volkov taking on Alexander Romanov. Oh, baby. And I feel like I have cheated on my girl, Keith. So Alexander Volkov has been my Russian. This is my guy. Like, the biggest bets I have ever made in my life have mostly all been on Alexander Volkov. I think he's what we thought Stefan Struve could be, right? Like, he's big, he's tall, he's long, but he's got the muscularity to go with it. He's got the cardio. He's got the durability to go with it. He's a problem at this weight class, and he's got just mountains of experience over a lot of these other heavyweights. I love Alexander Volkov, but I've got a problem with him. So he's 34 years old. He's got 45 professional fights. Even though heavyweights tend to last longer than most of the other weight classes, it's just, they can tend to fight a little bit longer. The wear and tear is not quite as bad on their bodies, it seems, and the power is the last thing to go, so you stick around at this weight class a little bit longer. 45 professional fights with a frame that size, like, that is something that's hard to do. He seems to be a little bit on the decline to me. Now, he looked good in his last fight against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but that, let's be real, folks, that was an early stoppage. Like, Jairzinho got clipped, he got hurt, his mouthpiece goes flying, but he wasn't out of there yet. I think Volkov probably goes on to win that fight, but it was an early stoppage. Before that, he got ran through by Tom Aspinall. Now, there's no shame in being run through by Tom Aspinall because that guy is a monster at the heavyweight division. But the thing that concerns me is the straight arm lock. Keith, I know you know your MMA, but I'm not sure how much like pure jiu-jitsu you've done. Folks, straight arm locks don't work in mixed martial arts. They simply do not work in high-level MMA. It's too easy to defend, and you've just got to have like a strength advantage on your opponent to hit a straight arm lock like that is frankly ridiculous. The fact that he got hit by that, even against someone as slick as Tom Aspinall, is upsetting to me. It's like when the Boa, my man, old man Olenek, like when he hits those Ezekiel chokes.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to hit those. Like, they're easy enough to defend. You're never supposed to hit those in high-level martial arts. My guy Volkov is tall and long. He can be taken down. He's got a good get-up game, but his initial takedown defense sucks. And he's in a smaller cage taking on Romanov, a guy who picks people with 300 pounds up and throws them across the cage. That's the man we're dealing with here. That's a problem. He's going to get taken down by Romanov. And a lot of people are looking back at Romanov's last fight, the Tybura fight, where he somehow managed to get a win and not a draw. I think it should have been. Wasn't there a point deduction? I thought that was actually going to be
Tybura got the Romanov had a 10-8 first round. He mauled him in the first round.
That was it. Okay. It was a 10-8.
Just won the last 2 rounds, but they were like closer. A lot of people thought it should have been a draw.
That's what I remember thinking, that it was a goofy draw type situation, but you're right. It was a 10-A, not a point deduction. But we got to remember that fight, I believe, was also at altitude, wasn't it?
Oh, that might be a good, I don't know.
It was in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I think that's a little higher. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talked about the altitude thing going into that fight. And I told everybody on the show, I was like, look, if we see Romanov not get that first round finish, you live bet Tybura. End of story. We got him at 10-1 going into round 2 because he survived the 10-8 round and we knew he was going to punch his way back into it going on. We don't have to worry about the altitude in this fight. We've got the younger fighter with less miles on his body. Romanov is only 32 years old. And I mentioned the arm lock, folks. Romanov is built like an ox. This man has that strength advantage over everybody, and he has multiple submissions on his record that are that fuck you, I'm stronger than you type of submission. You remember the forearm front choke that he got Marcos Rogerio de Lima with? He's capable. He always rolls for Kimuras and Americanas.
That was just like a fat guy. Like, I'm super strong. Let me just press on your neck.
I'm just going to close your esophagus with my body weight. Like that's
big brother.
hold him under until the bubbles stop.
I was talking this. Who would beat Romanov in the UFC in an arm wrestling match?
Francis, they cut him though, so I'm not sure.
I don't
know. Man. He's just got that kind of bear strength. So, frankly, I hate going against my guy, but I bet on Alexander Romanov. I think he's going to take Volkov down whenever he wants to, and he's a younger fighter, so I think he's probably going to be learning to manage that cardio and that pace a little bit better. And even frankly, if he doesn't, he'll be able to take Volkov down whenever he wants. And sitting on people's chest the way he does, he's going to get one of those fuck you chokes on him or submissions. Keith, I'm going to call it outright. Like, I'm going to look over. BetMGM every once in a while releases like the exact submission props on fights. Okay. They're stupid numbers. They're almost impossible to hit because it's hard enough to call when somebody gets a submission, much less the exact submission that they're going to get. But I'm going to say it's a Kimura. I think he's going to get up on top of him and bend his arm and break his shoulder. I think it's going to be a Kimura or Americana.
Can you get that on that on your sponsor site? The one that you were pumping up?
No, they don't do goofy props like that on my sponsor site, unfortunately. They're smarter than
that. Yeah. So one thing that stands out to me about these two guys is how much their bodies have changed. You talk about Volkov. He's obviously always been 7 feet tall, but how thicker he's gotten. He's put a lot of muscle on his frame. And then Romanov has kind of gotten the opposite, where he first started in the UFC at like had to cut down to make 265. Now he's like 238. I think he weighed for his last fight. Really trimmed down a lot quicker than he was. Volkov, he's a technically sound striker, nice jab, throws straight punches down the pipe. He's accurate. Teep kicks are really good, especially because he digs those toes in when he throws it. When you get inside, he's really focused on his movement, where he can kind of use his legs to get back out of range. He just touches and then unloads when there's power shot. One thing about Volkov that doesn't get enough credit is his chin. Derek Lewis, that one big, huge haymaker forever ago, was the only body to really hurt Volkov. But his takedown defense, you mentioned it. Curtis Blades took him down 14 times in 5-round fight. And then you mentioned it again. He gets smoked on the ground by Tom Aspinall. Now, Romanov southpaw, his striking has gotten better. I think that's just because his speed has gotten better by being lighter. But everything he does for striking is just to close the distance, to distract, to give an opening, to get to that clinch. Upper body locks, lateral drops, bear hugs, anything upper body stuff. He can shoot through your hips, but and he might do that against some guy like Volkov. He's very physically strong. I mean, the guy suplexed Chase Sherman. Now, Chase Sherman is not a high level UFC heavyweight, but he's still like, I don't know, 250 pounds or whatever. Yeah, and he gets suplexed. Strong top game, advances position on the ground, good ground and pound, legit submission. He's got some 9 submission wins. But if he can't get the fight to the ground, his gas tank fails, and that's what Yudchat has been blowing up. He gassed against Marcin Tybura, but like it wasn't like the Juan Espina fight. Juan Espina in the third round, he looked a lot worse, but he also was much heavier for the Juan Espina fight, where his body has changed. I think you made 2 really good observations. One you kind of glanced over really quick. I think it's even stronger. The altitude. Not fighting at Salt Lake City, I didn't even think about that. And I think that's a really good point. But the smaller cage, not only does it help the wrestler, but it hurts the guy who really focuses on distance.
Yeah, Volkov's got nowhere to run, and he's got 10-foot legs.
So it's still a step up. Like, he lost his last fight and somehow got a step up in competition, Romanov. So I'm not betting this one. I'd stay away. But I went with Romanov until Volkov can show me. Like, Volkov beats good guys, but you look at his UFC career, who can wrestle that he's faced? Really 2 guys, Curtis Blades and Tom Aspinall, and he looked bad in both of them. You said earlier that's one of these show me. That this is what I'm doing with like Volkov, show me, and this is even tougher because he's going against a really good wrestler in really small space. Yeah, so I'll take Romanov. I'll say he gets I don't know if he's gonna get a submission, but I'll go with a decision. I think it'll be one of those ones where he banks 2 and then has to, stall and clinch and get ugly in the 3rd round. But yeah, give me Romanov by decision.
Okay. I got Romanov by sub. Keith's got Romanov by decision. I've just got the money line as a bet, so I think we got our bases covered here. I'm glad we agree. It's going to be a sad day, man. I think the UFC is pushing one side and not the other, and I actually think my guy Volkov is on the decline. If you give him the big octagon and you give him somebody who wants to kickbox with him, he's still completely live. He'll win all day, but as long as they keep feeding him these grappler types, I just don't think he's going to be able to hold up. And that's the one specialist that you can't make up the difference quickly enough. You know, these guys have been wrestling for a lifetime, and Volkov in just a couple camps is not going to be able to make up that kind of a difference. So I think he's going to end up on his back here again on Saturday, unfortunately. All right, everybody. It is main event time. Thank you again for being here, everybody. 225 live viewers. Appreciate each and every one of you. Merab Dvalishvili is taking on Petr Yan. This is a hell of a fight, Keith. I cannot wait for this one. I have been, you know what? I'm not even going to make you guys wait. I'm going to let Keith do his nice big old breakdown for this one. But the one thing I've been waiting for is 5-round Merab. That's it. That's all I've ever wanted to see. The gas tank, the pace, and the pressure of this man. I've only ever wanted to see him in a 5-round fight. And now we finally get to see him against somebody who's going to be in there for 5 rounds with him. I cannot wait. Keith, talk to me about this fight, these fighters. Let the people know what's going on, and then we can see if we can chip away some betting action there after you're done.
Yeah, so when we think about fights and UFC fights, you always think about the fights that headline UFC pay-per-views. You get the embedded and the countdowns and the ceremonial weigh-ins. You get all this extra stuff, so you get so much more excitement when that happens. This is one of those few fights that doesn't get all that, and I'm still super excited for, because I think it's such a fun stylistic match. Seeing what Yan still has left, what is Merab taking another step up in competition against such a technically sound fighter. I'm super, super excited for this fight. Yan is an amazing fighter, but he can't win a close fight. You could make an argument. Think about this. You could make an argument that he could be undefeated. And what I mean by that is he had that DQ loss to Aljamain Sterling. Then he lost split decisions to Nurmagomedov, a fight that I thought he won. The second Aljamain Sterling fight, which was super close. And then the Sean O'Malley fight that was super close.
Yep.
So you could argue he could win all those. He could be undefeated right now. And if he was undefeated, he'd have such an aura about him that would be so different than what he carries into the cage. That said, as far as his skills on his feet, I mean, he's so good. Very poised fighter. He can fight out of both stances. When I say guys can fight out of both stances, there's some guys who switch stances a lot, which I always think is a good thing to switch stances, because you kind of get your opponent guessing, you give him a different look. And then you have guys who can fight out of both stances and be just as good on either stance. For example, Demetrius Johnson, a perfect example. Israel Adesanya. Like I always tell people, says, what is Izzy? Is Izzy an orthodox fighter, or is he southpaw? And like most people have to think, like, exactly, because he's so good either way. Yan is the same way. Like, he can fight out of both stances so well. My concern about him is that he can be low output at times. He's one of these guys, he's always looking at the big picture of 5 rounds, where he's always studying, kind of a slow starter, picking up tells, very something that Anderson Silva did. But because of that, he has closer fights than you need. Like, I go all the way back to the Jimmy Rivera fight. That's a perfect example where he needed to catch Jimmy Rivera and big shots to steal rounds back from Jimmy Rivera, because he was giving away rounds by his lack of output. He gave away rounds to Jose Aldo. He gave away rounds to Corey Sandhagen just by not matching their output. Mm-hmm. When he lets his hands go, he's got some of the fastest hands in MMA. He marches down his foe. He's definitely a builder. Like, Petr Yan in the 5th round is much different than Petr Yan in the 2nd round, 1st round. A 5-round fight, I feel so much better. Like, Corey Sandhagen is a perfect example of that fight. Like, I feel so much better for him in 5 rounds than I do in 3 rounds. Mm-hmm. Dan Hardy has a breakdown of him, which is so good. I don't remember which fight it was, so I can't give it to you. But Dan Hardy was talking about how he's throwing to spots, and it was because he's setting traps and he's reading where, like, okay, when you're at the cage and I got you cornered, which way do you exit? How do you exit? You know, if I throw this, where do you exit? And then he times that later. So one of these guys who times just spots. Which is so impressive.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's what elite strikers do. It's funny because we throw the word quick twitched out, and if we're being honest, they always say it about black guys, but he is a perfect example of a quick twitch guy. because he explodes so fast. He's got such nice pop in his shots. Plus power. Like, he's not the biggest guy, but he's so accurate that's what he's not Francis Ngannou where he catches you with the glancing shot. When he drops you, it's such a clean shot. His left straight from the southpaw where he leads with his left straight is awesome. I love his slip uppercut where he'll slip to the right and throw an uppercut as you come in, which kind of makes you not want to come in. If you step in, you get uppercutted to the face, because that's definitely the punch you don't see coming. Mm-hmm. He's hard to hit. He's hard to hit clean because he rolls. He also turtle shells up or what they call pillaring, where you're kind of doing the Tito Ortiz hiding behind, very boxing style. Which is hard to hit with your hands, but it does leave you open to body kicks and also leaves you open to obviously leg kicks and then takedowns. For a guy who's so good, he has been hurt. Like, say what you want about Sean O'Malley, whether he should have won that fight or not. Mm-hmm. Sean O'Malley hurt him multiple times. Like, that is not
several times.
You can't deny that. Like, regardless if you think Sean O'Malley lost, he showed that he's an elite guy in the division.
Absolutely.
Petr Yan, one thing I wish he would do more, I wish he would offensive wrestle more. He does this thing where he like catches a kick and then he sweeps your leg down, but he like doesn't cover you up and he doesn't like stay on top. He doesn't want to fight from there. And I think if he had the threat of the takedown more, it would open up his hands and open his even more. I wish he'd do that more.
Agreed.
But when
agreed.
If he does, he'll throw a couple takedowns in, but he doesn't do enough. But he has good entries. He's got good at winning scrambles. You go back to those Nurmagomedov fights. They hit some of the funnest scrambles you'll see. But because of that turtling style, he gets taken down, and he likes to go to the Granby roll. And when you have a guy like Aljamain Sterling, that's how he was giving up the back by going to the Granby roll, which is obviously like that's more of a college wrestling move where it's okay for the you don't want to be on your back, so you're giving your back. In MMA, obviously, it's so much different. Now, Merab, I'm going to say something on Merab. I say this every single time. It's like my rule about Merab. Merab should be 10-0 in the UFC. He beat Frankie Steins in his debut. He got screwed, and that Ricky Simone thing is still one of the craziest things I've ever seen. That is, I got that out of the way. It's my rule. Done. He is the ultimate balls to the wall style guy, constantly attacking, throws every strike with the worst intentions, those huge haymakers, those like crazy spinning attacks. He has no fear of getting hit. He kind of just throws punches and just throws stuff out there to kind of get you to back up or to lift your hands up. And then that's when he's going to shoot through your hips with this insane pace, really good entries, chain attacks together really well. Some of the best cardio in the game. Like, I don't know if he has what I always like to say. I don't like to debate whose skill. This skill is best. This skill is best. But I always say, like, you don't need to get the club. Like, you're trying to get in. You're in Hollywood. You're like the cool club. Like, I want to get in. You got to wait and the bounce of picks. Like, if there's a club for cardio, that guy, he's in. All right, Merab, you're in. Like, he's not waiting outside. He's in. It's so impressive the way he has his cardio because he does everything that's supposed to tire you out. Throwing haymakers, spinning attacks, and wrestling. The one knock about his wrestling, he needs to improve his top control. He somehow doesn't control good on top, despite having so many good takedowns. So this is such a fun fight. The smaller cage makes me feel better about Merab. But, man, Merab has such a unique style. Plus, I've seen Yan get out wrestled in the past, so Merab has a chance of winning. But he leaves, because of that craziness style, he leaves openings. And Yan is a sniper. I think Yan is going to make adjustments where the first and second round he might struggle, but by third and fourth round, he's going to start catching, maybe slipping uppercut as Merab comes in doing something crazy. And I think he hurts Merab. I think at one point he might hurt him, maybe like sprawled on him and hammer fist him and stuff. I think we could get a late stoppage. And Yan's going to remind people how good he is. I'm going Yan. Give me Yan. I'm going to say against a late stoppage. Give me Yan by fifth round TKO.
Okay. All right. Calling for the round 5 TKO. I love it. Ballsy call. Keith, we're going to finish the night on opposite sides of the spectrum here. I actually really love Merab as an underdog in this one. I kind of led with that I just have been waiting for 5-round Merab this whole time. The only thing we've seen give Yan trouble has been these grapplers. Aljamain Sterling with the backpacks, but he was able to land in there, a couple mixing the takedowns, mixing the grappling. It seems like it threw the groove off of Petr Yan. And Merab is that only more. I think Merab is more active than Aljo is. I think he is more aggressive than Aljo is. I think he's got better takedowns than Aljo does. Maybe he doesn't have the backpack, but I think he'll be able to chain takedowns better than Aljamain Sterling does. I think Merab in a 5-round fight, I'm going to say it, he might be unbeatable. I think the machine might straight up be unbeatable in a 5-round fight. Now, we did see him get clipped and hurt very badly against Magic Marlon Moraes. The fact that he was able to survive that shot doing the Kevin Lee stanky leg and get in, get on the hips, get another takedown, and then turn the tables, that spoke volumes to me. I'm so impressed with his ability to survive that situation. The thing that makes me struggle with Petr Yan is, I completely agree with you. He could and should probably be undefeated. But the reason he's not is he's a Diaz brother, Keith. He does not play the game. Like, Petr Yan is the guy that goes out there and says, I'm going to kick your ass and I should win the fight because of it. He doesn't do the things that judges want to see in MMA. You mentioned how he doesn't mix in the takedowns the way we would like it to. It would open up his striking. He doesn't match the volume of guys in the fight. When he could step on the gas pedal just a little bit, he could pull away. He keeps the fight close. He always manages to keep the fight close. And the fact that he's been hurt a couple times, especially the Sean O'Malley fight, like, I just got to wonder if maybe we've seen the peak of Petr Yan, because I think he should still have the belt right now. You know, I'm with you. I think that I won on the Aljamain Sterling split decision. I bet Aljamain Sterling by decision that night. I was praising Jesus. I did not think I got that decision. I think Yan won that fight. I absolutely think he beat Sean O'Malley. But he lost the big moments, and the judges sent it the other direction on both of those. And I think we could see it happen again. And frankly, I think we could see him potentially crumble in this fight out of sheer frustration. I think we could see Yan go, oh God, not again. Like when we get to round 3, round 4, round 5, this will be the first person who I think has the ability to hang with him in those rounds. Like, he was frustrated beyond belief against Aljamain Sterling and basically gave up when he was backpacked in those later rounds. I could see him doing a similar thing here against Merab. He gets taken down for the record-breaking 30th time in this fight deep in round 4. I don't know that he's going to care as much to get back up, and he might be more complaining to the official to get this guy off me, kind of the way Jose Aldo was doing when he got backed up against the fence and just had no answer to get off the cage. I think the machine works on Saturday, Keith. I'm going to go head to head with you here. And the only reason I haven't bet this one yet is because it's hand over fist money coming in on Petr Yan right now. He's minus 245. Wow, so that number has gone up. You can get Merab at plus 205 right now. Plus 200 was the number that I wanted. Plus 200 was the number that I was waiting for. He's plus 205. I'm going to sit tight for a minute. Let's see how high this bad boy goes. Because I do think that Merab is just going to kind of melt people over the course of a 25-minute fight. I don't think anybody can keep pace with him.
Yeah, I'm not confident. Yana, what did you say? Negative. What was it?
He's a minus 245 favorite. So you'd have to lay $245 to win 100.
That's a lot for, I think this fight it should be like minus 160 or something like that.
And I really think the last couple fights play into it, man. I think the fact that everybody, you, me, the chat, all of us, we're going back-to-back fights. He should have beat Aljo. He should have beat O'Malley. There's no way he's losing. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's kind of the attitude going into this fight. And I think there's a very real possibility he gets outworked.
One thing we didn't mention is Merab trains. His main training partner is Aljamain Sterling, who obviously knows Petr Yan fantastic, and they've game planned for him. So they know him very well.
Exactly. Very true. All right, man. We are finishing the night on opposite sides, going out with a bang. I love it. Folks, thank you all so much for being here. That was the Die Hard MMA podcast. Remember, everybody, I'm going to just tell you what I am putting my money on. You don't have to tail me. You can fade me. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. But that's what I do here on this show. There are many people out there that are much smarter, more intelligent gamblers than I am. I'm your friendly neighborhood degenerate, just loving talking fights and enjoying throwing some change around on the weekends. So make your own choices. Hopefully you got the information here on the show that you needed to make good ones. Hit the like button for us if you will. Keith, my friend, I appreciate your time. And if you'd like to shout out anything, if you have any sponsors, you got more shows coming up, whatever you want, the floor is yours. Let the people know how they can support you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I always have so much fun, and shout out to all you guys in the chat. They were all fantastic, and it's been twice now that they were super cool to me, especially considering I'm not a betting guy. I talk a lot, and I just love talking about fights. The only thing I will shout out is different than this show. I do a live recap show about 10 minutes.
Yes.
Me and Ben Duffy about 10 minutes after the main event ends of every single UFC. It has a live chat too. It's very similar style where everybody's friendly with each other, and we go through every single fight. It's not one of these quick 20-minute ones. It's like a 2-hour show, so 2+ hours sometimes. So if you guys are looking for a recap show, make sure you check that out.
Very cool. It's a good one. You guys go check out Keith. They do a good job over there. Again, thank you all so much. You guys know the show wouldn't be what it is without you, without the love, without the support, without the chat, the positive vibes. You guys are awesome. We've got the Thursday Total Takedown coming out this week, the Friday Undefeated post-weigh-in show as always. And then, of course, we've got the live streams, the bet casts here on Pub Sports Radio. My guy, Billy. So first off, we got to repeat, Nick is our first 3-time champ. Shout out to him for winning the Pub Sports contest. However, my guy, Billy Briz, he called on the live stream for the people a parlay of Alexa Grasso and John Bones Jones. That man made people bags this past weekend. So shout out Billy Briz, one of the personalities here at Pub Sports Radio. Come gamble with us during the fights on one of these Saturdays, folks. And then check out Keith's recap show right afterward. That's the plan. That's how you do this bad boy. Thank you all again. Hit us up. Follow us on socials. Love you guys. Have a great week. Let's roll.